in aerospace.
It's just a very optimistic timeline, but I really don't care if it's delayed for a while. I'm just glad they're working on it.
Yeah. Um, there was some. I think someone said that Elon Musk was one of the real bright spots in terms of technical innovation, and the world looked kind of depressing when you saw the continual degradation of these capabilities. But do you think that Starship will meet its promise? What likelihood do you assign to Starship actually doing eventually exactly what it says on the tin, which would be quite revolutionary? I don't know. One thing that stood out to me about Elon's presentation was how it's going to represent a multiplication, like thousands of times of our throw capability to orbit, which is just a really drastic change. It changes the cost equation completely.
Yeah, so I think so I'd say that the technology has always been fundamentally feasible, um, and that's why I've wanted to see it get done for a long while. So I think assuming that financing isn't an issue, I think it's going to happen.
It seems to me that financing isn't going to be an issue because at this point you have such a supply of capital looking for investments, and you have this sort of really good story behind SpaceX. So it seems like it should take a long time for them to actually get out of runway. I think that like their failure scenario involves them kind of punting for at least a decade without having much to show for it.
Yeah, I would. That makes sense. I would certainly hope that that's the case. I guess I, I feel like the smart money would be somewhat skeptical simply because monetization would be difficult. Um, I'm not
Because
sure
the
how
launch the
much.
launch market is so small.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, fundamentally, you need to be able to launch something that gets you the return, the economic return that justifies the cost of launching it. And I don't know that there's anything in the works that would actually be able to make economic use in generate private return
There's
for
the
launching
uh,
some such stuff.
there's the point to point transport idea, but there's also I think like Starlink. They're planned to have like a super internet, satellite internet, which is like better in terms of latency and bandwidth and everything, like by a wide margin.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I certainly hope something of the sort pans out, um, and I suspect there will be enough enough investors throwing money at crazy ideas that this will be able to get funding. I certainly think it would be a better bet for like SoftBank to invest in this than to be investing in things like Uber or WeWork. So yeah,
WeWork is going to take over the world, man. Don't you worry about that. They give their employees free alcohol. How could a company like that not succeed? But in terms of
well, you need meat.
in terms of like technology, I was reading about stuff like about the pressurization problem. Like apparently, fighter jets are only partially pressurized to save on weight, and even commercial planes, obviously, they decrease the altitude to like equivalent of like 5,000 feet in order to reduce strain on the airframe. In
That's
space,
on the new ones. Older ones are closer to like 10,000 feet.
mm,
It's pretty annoying when you get off the flight and you have altitude sickness.
right? Yeah, I think that yeah, I think that's a big part of what makes flying more comfortable is just that the newer ones have higher pressures, and we really don't like those low pressures. But there's the option of oxygen enrichment, which is what they do on fighter planes, and what they tried to do on some, or what they did on some capsules was like a pure oxygen environment in space to reduce the need for strength of the capsule itself. And I don't think that there's been any like super long term studies, but I think that you don't get there's no there doesn't seem to have been any ill effects from the Gemini capsules being there with just oxygen at the correct partial pressure. But I don't know if you've seen it, but Jeff Bezos has his own vision for space, and that involves great big cylinders with gas, and you just live on the surface of the cylinder. And you'd save a lot if you just move to a pure oxygen atmosphere at whatever percentage, like a fifth of an atmosphere. Do you think that that's the future? Humans living in no nitrogen environments. It also dovetails with Greg Cochrane's thing where he says nitrogen narcosis is making us dumber. So if you live in a pure oxygen environment, that's one way around it.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is we haven't really seen any adverse health effects from pure oxygen. Um, so I think if you're going to be in space, that that is very likely the way to go.
We don't do it
Although
now,
obviously,
on the
yeah,
shuttle and on
it's
earlier capsules. And the Soviets never did it, but
right, right, and it's probably something that you want to you want to continue testing the effects off and before you go ahead and do it for thousands of people.
right.
But yeah, I mean, I think the space capsules thing is interesting because it's not clear to me what that actually buys you aside from slightly better, I guess,
You mean the
solar
cylinder
power.
idea?
Yeah, I guess what's the point is my question.
Well, I guess it maximizes living space per material, just to have that this is a cylinder, and then you rotate it, and then like the material is used to support the living space. Um,
Well, sorry. I guess my question isn't what's the point of your space living arrangement being in a cylinder, but I guess
oh, what's the
what's the
point of it in the
point of
first
putting
place?
people in space? Yeah.
Um, that's a good question. In the long run, I think it's the future because you can just multiply the carrying capacity of the solar system. I don't know how many times, billions, quadrillions of times, just by turning things into capsules and then floating those capsules around the sun, right? Because
Right. Right. Right.
it,
You basically get past the limits of the limited surface areas of the planets and
exactly.
yeah, grow
In the
further.
short run, we don't have a surface area problem, right? We're
Yeah,
not lacking
exactly.
surface area.
We're really far from running out of living space.
Right. So in terms of in terms of the short run, why would you have a habitat? Well, there's the obvious thing of research, but I think also like as a staging area, if you had like a lot of space to work, it could be a way to enable on orbit assembly. It could be a tourist thing if your windows are good enough. I don't know if you've seen those high quality videos of the space station, but that cupola is amazing. I think that if you could have like roomy quarters and gravity and a view like that, it would actually be kind of desirable to a lot of people, like very desirable to a lot of people. And so there's a tourism angle there. Um, in terms of military, I think that there's some applications to having just more capacity online there, and more independent action being taken from space. What else? That's about it, I guess. I think the case for I think that the in space habitats are a lot less interesting than colonization of other planets at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel the same way. I think colonization, uh, both establishing bases on the moon and colonizing Mars are both very interesting, and as well, just mining the asteroids for expensive heavy metals is also an interesting way to bring economic value back to Earth.
Right. Fletcher asks, why would we want to multiply our carrying capacity? Well, it's kind of a question like, what's the value of life? If you could imagine a world where Earth could support only a billionth of the people it currently supports, I think that that's a worse world than the world we have now. And so I think that a solar system that can support many, many, many times more people is a better solar system because I like people. That's sort of an axiom, I guess. And when you dispense with that axiom, I think you get to like a place where it's difficult to say what to do in general for the future.
What do you mean you like people?
I think people are good. I think it's good to have people alive and flourishing and having children and dreaming and all that sort of stuff that humans do. I think it's good.
I mean, are all people the same? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Well, okay. So to clarify, I mean, are some people, some groups of people better than others? I mean, do you want the world just inhabited full of Africans? Because that's kind of the way that we're going.
I'd like all the races of humanity to survive. I think that it's absurd, for instance, to be for ecological preservation of various species, but then have no concern for the survival of say Africans. I think that's kind of madness and a moral blindness that's absurd.
Okay, let's say that tomorrow there were no Africans. What would we lose?
We'd lose a lot. I mean, I think that Africans bring their own perspective to the world. I think that they're a really valuable perspective and a valuable group of people who contribute enormously to the arts and even to all the varied walks of life that the world has. I think that there's not an area where you can say that Africans are completely without merit.
We'd also lose the largest source of genetic variety for humanity.
Where would we be without the BBC? I mean, this is kind of this weird liberal naivete that like I said, if I was an Israeli citizen, I would have a huge, well, I do have a huge problem with you guys, but I would have even more of a problem with you guys because you guys are on the same side as George Soros. And if I had to choose,
what's happening is that you're compressing all the political spectrum into a very narrow range, which you sit outside of. But I think that you'll find that my political desires and George Soros's look light years apart from a conventional political perspective, which I think looks
no,
at the
you are
actual
you are
variety
exactly
of
you are
practical views.
exactly advocating George Soros's
How am I
political
advocating
points
for
of view.
George Soros's political views?
Well, we need to have more Africans. What's the problem with having Africans in Israel? You know, like
Where have I said that
no.
I'm for African immigration into Israel or into America or into Europe? I'm advocating for their survival, and I'm saying that they bring
Are you
value.
advocating for the deportation of Africans from Israel?
No. Oh, well, okay. If they're illegal, then yes. But and I'm not advocating the deportation of any African Israeli citizens, sub-Saharan African Israeli citizens. I don't believe that it's a good idea to base your deportation decisions on someone's racial background.
Yeah, it's a very naive way to look at the world, to be honest.
No,
I
it
mean,
isn't.
well, here, let me put it from my own personal European context, where the Spanish colonized Mexico, right? And so you have these mestizos and the castizos, right? And then you also have the more native Mexicans, which I don't know what they call them, but off the top of my head, but. Like I think that the Spanish did a bad thing or did a horrible thing by by taking Mexican I don't know, war wives, if you want to call them that.
Well, they didn't exactly have a huge amount of European wives to choose from. I think it was a good decision to mate with the natives and
Absolutely wrong.
and continue
Absolutely
their line.
wrong. No, absolutely wrong. I mean, you compare what the Spanish did versus what the British did in North America, right? Or I mean, in the continental, the southern 48.
The North Americans brought a lot more women, or the English brought a lot more women.
Maybe if the Spanish brought more women, we wouldn't have Mexico today.
Maybe, but I
Well,
don't object. Go ahead.
the GDP per capita difference between Mexico and Spain is actually not that big.
What?
Right. I don't see
Wait,
Latin
sorry,
America.
say
I don't
that
see Latin
again? I didn't
America.
hear that.
Go ahead. Okay.
I didn't hear
Go
that.
ahead.
Say it again. Say it again. I didn't hear it.
The GDP per capita of Mexico is quite decent compared to the GDP per capita of Spain. I think you can't really compare Mexico to the U.S. without taking into account that Spain is not as successful as England.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know it's a very Jewish thing to say that, the GDP is how we measure how good a people are, but no, that's not the way it works. And not only
But
that, but
perhaps
there's
the difference between
more.
us, Ovi, is that we're not talking about like how good a people are in terms of creating a racial hierarchy. We're talking about
I'm sorry,
results.
the world can live without tacos. Okay, I'm sorry. Like tacos are not that important. Burritos are not that important.
The world could live without Europeans. That doesn't mean that it's a good thing for the world to be without Europeans.
Yeah, and name me one way that Mexicans are better than Europeans.
Well, it's a complicated question, but one
No, it's
difference.
not.
Yeah, it is.
Name me one thing that the Mexicans do better than
Well, for
Europeans.
instance, Hispanics have a longer life expectancy. They're healthier longer, probably due to adaptations to the north, the American.
What citation needed? Because Mexicans are actually the fattest race on Earth.
Yeah, yeah, and guess what? Mexicans, who, as you say, are a lot fatter than Europeans
So we
in the
shall
same
be
place,
fat.
they live longer. Isn't that
If
amazing?
only we were all fat like the Mexicans, we would
Isn't
be
it
better
great?
off.
Isn't it great for you to learn about the value of biodiversity? They live longer. Isn't that
Yeah,
cool?
I'm still skeptical. Yeah, I want to
Just
see
look up the
this.
life expectancy
I want to see a
statistics for
citation.
Hispanics.
I want to see a
Look up
citation.
the life expectancy statistics for Hispanics in America, and look up, for example, Cuban
Oh,
life expectancies.
wait a second. Wait a second. No. Wait. You gave yourself away there. I'm talking about Mexicans. I'm not talking about Hispanics in America. I'm talking
Well,
about
are you talking
Mexicans.
about racial differences, or what are you talking about?
Yes, I am talking about racial
Right.
differences. Yeah.
So Amerindians, right, have certain adaptations to the American situation, which include less autoimmune diseases, stuff like that, and that is likely related to the higher Hispanic life expectancy.
No,
Why not?
you're still conflagrating two different issues. We're talking about Mexicans in Mexico, not
I'm
Hispanics
talking
in
about
America.
Amerindians in terms of which is the racial category that you're talking about. If you're not talking about race, I don't know what you're talking about because you seem to be interested in race as opposed to nationality when you're talking about this specific question.
Yeah, already there's people in chat. Dio Strago is saying those life expectancy stats are fake. That within that group, it's the European Hispanics that live longer than native Hispanics.
Yeah, whatever. It's still interesting to see the anomalously high life expectancies among Hispanics, and I think that you can point to the differences, and you can also point to
No,
other things.
but you're still not understanding the point. There's a difference between Hispanics with European admixture, or
Okay,
Hispanics living in America
regardless, it
versus
represents a source
fucking
of value in your
native
terms.
Mexicans.
It represents a source of value in any in any value system. It's important to be able to live longer, live healthier, and the fact that you see evidence in this direction means that there's something to contribute right there, and it's significant. Moreover, there's also differences in psychology, which are in many cases advantageous. I believe that there's lesser rates of depression, for instance, among Hispanics than among Europeans. So I just reject absolutely your notion that we have nothing
Ignorance,
to take
ignorance
from
is
the other
bliss.
races of humanity.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss.
You're the one
So
who's ignorant.
as long as people are happy, that's all that matters.
No, it's
It
not all that
doesn't matter.
matters.
It doesn't matter if we live in a
I
third
didn't say
world
that
economy.
it's all that
It
matters.
doesn't matter. It doesn't
I
matter
said
if we live on
it's
dirt
something to
floors.
contribute. You're
No, yeah.
relying on
Well,
a
I mean,
perspective that these people have nothing to contribute. I'm saying evidently they do.
what do they have to contribute other than tacos and burritos? What do they have to
As I've
contribute?
said, those two things are very significant on their own, and that's by no means the only thing that they contribute. They also contribute, obviously, economically, which you reject in significance, but which I reject your rejection. I think that their contributions are important. That their work, that
Their
their
work.
yeah, the work they contribute, the labor that they provide, and the goods that they provide with their labor, with their diligence, that is important. I reject the notion that that's not important. I think so. Overall, I think that you're coming from a perspective that relies on an unrealistic perspective that the races of humanity don't have anything to
So
offer, and
tell
and
me,
that we'd be better off
Pascal.
without them. I think
Tell
that's
me
actually
this, Pascal. Do you
I
think?
think
Do you think
it's only driven by a desire to reject the values of your society. It's not driven by logic. It's not driven by evidence.
the yeah, the values of my society? Well, that's another conversation to have. But so, are you saying that America would be a better place if it was majority Mexican rather than majority white?
No,
That's a straw man.
Well, I mean, surely if these people are such, great workers, they're so, beneficial to society, then, I mean, why wouldn't they be better than white people?
because there are virtues to every group of people, and in the case of America, I think America
What
should remain for the
virtues?
population that's
What
here.
virtues? What virtues do Mexicans provide that white people don't?
I just gave you a bunch,
Are
and I'm
you, are
not
you
going to repeat
saying that
myself.
white people aren't hard workers?
No, I'm
Oh
saying
God,
that
thank God David
I'm
is here.
saying that
Thank God David is here.
what I'm saying is that they indeed do provide things that would not be found elsewhere, and
Like
that is
what?
valuable.
Like what?
But
What can you find
moreover,
in Mexicans? What can you
in
find in the Mexican race that you
in
can't
addition
find
to
in the
in
white
addition to
race?
those things, in addition to
And,
those things,
and
they
what things? In
provide
addition
things
to
that
things?
everyone else
Are
provides.
you
They are
saying
people.
that white people
They are
aren't hard
people.
workers?
They are people.
They are
They
people.
work.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They
Everyone
provide
are people.
they
Everyone are
provide
people. That doesn't
intellectual
mean that they
labor.
provide
They
anything.
provide physical labor. They
Yeah,
they
white people
they
provide
work
physical
to
labor
save your
too.
life if you go to the hospital and there's a
No,
Hispanic worker there.
the
They
problem
work to
is
save your
that
life, Ov.
white people don't work for fucking pennies like Mexicans do.
The point that's irrelevant. I'm not denigrating white
That
people,
is
and
irrelevant.
you
It's totally
continually
irrelevant.
reframe me refusing to denigrate other races as me denigrating white people. It's just it's just absolutely a misrepresentation of what I'm saying.
But you do denigrate white people when
I
you
don't.
say that, oh, no, the Mexicans are such hard workers. Where would we be with the
How is that a
hardworking?
denigration of white people?
I mean, it's implying that white people aren't hardworking.
No, it's not.
Yeah, you're saying that America would not be as hardworking if it wasn't for
I never said that.
these hardcore Mexicans.
I never said that.
Well, it sure sounded like it.
Yeah, it sounded like it to you because of your perspective, but I think I've already given my views on what your perspective is.
Yeah, I can give my perspective on what your views are as well.
Yep, I think we know where the other person stands. Maybe the conversation should move in a new direction.
David, my distant cousin, how's it going, brother?
Praise the Lord.
Hey, David, how's it going? Good to
Thank
see
God
you.
his your channel
Oh,
title-
brother,
I have
This
David on my
channel-
channel now.
Oh yeah, thanks. I guess Bab sent me the link. I thought it was going to be his channel, but it's yours. So,
Yep.
welcome. Thanks for hosting the stream. I don't know, just random banter, the normal OV.
Yeah. Do you know what? Did
Don't lie
Babs tell
to
you
me.
anything?
Love talking to me.
No, I just checked my Gmail and I saw that Bab sent me a link.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad you did. Oh, hey, Babs is in the chat. Hey, Babs, where are you? Babs promised to be here, by the way, and he's ducked out on me. But at least he's sent a number of people my way.
He'll be here. He's got shit to do. He'll be here.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here for that much longer though. It's coming on some late times over here, but I'm going to try to keep it going as long as I can. So David, anything new? How was your weekend review with Church of Entropy? Did that go
We
well?
did the year in review.
Oh,
And it was
Starting at the end of the year.
Yeah, we've done 27 streams, almost every week since April, and besides reviewing like the rise and fall of minor e-celebs and viewership and who we're talking to, who are more successful dealing with and more and less successful. Also, various ideas and progression in terms of our main overlap of interest is the hard problem of consciousness, quantum mind, and science, although also various issues that have returned many times. So we talked quite a bit about free will, because for a few months there was these debates on free will. We talked about God impersonal versus personal, and we actually talked for like an hour about group evolutionary strategy, and Claire was on. She got kind of triggered, whether it's ideological determinism versus genetic determinism, and if it's genetic determinism, whether it's individual determinism versus group determinism. So you're just trying to figure, have we actually progressed in understanding these ideas from months and months of debate? We didn't talk too much about the JQ. We've been thinking like OV. Okay, we've debated tens of hours about the JQ, and I focus usually more on banking and historic. More. I take the positive that Jews in general, meaning all Jews, not just like religious Jews, where Luke might kind of divide and say they're like they're good Jews and bad Jews. They're saying like generally all Jews are good for society, and historically, so we'll argue World War II, German, Rome, Greece, and so they're fun arguments. Like thinking about OV on Claire's stream, we talked to like the Punic. Did the Jews take the side of Carthage in the First Punic War? And does it make sense? Well, we were looking
going back pretty far.
Yeah, but
hell yeah.
too. So I'm saying that Europe and Jews rose together. That all major European civilizations basically had an alliance with the Jews, and kind of debt. Like your theory of elites was that anti-Semitism is natural because Jews have always filled this middleman banking management position in basically all societies. And we talked about, Alexander the Great, did he ally with the Jews, Caesar, and, through the progression of Europe.
Yeah.
With the concept that, kind of like most people are born slaves, most people are born into debt.
But I think that the situation with Ashkenazim in Europe is different from the situation of Jews earlier on. I don't think that you had this money lending niche indefinitely in Jewish history. But I'd like to get Jen in here. Good to see you. Glad you could come on.
Hi, Kyle. Thanks for having me on. Babs sent me the link, so I thought I'd pop in and say nice to see you streaming, and I'm glad you're keeping it up. Hi, Duvid and OV and CERN. Nice to see you too.
Awesome.
Seagull, Jen, Seagull, how does it feel? I mean, are you you're not too depressed after you lost that debate against me, are you?
Well, it looks like she won in the end. Like, I mean, at the end, she ended up beating you 2-1. Like, you only won temporarily at the beginning of the vote count, but as the votes kept on coming in, she destroyed you.
What are you talking about? Do you have a link for this?
Yeah, check the Streamlabs now. Like last time I checked it, she had over 100 votes.
Check the.
Would you look at that? Blown out by Jen. Nothing to be ashamed of, Obi.
Well, he got off to an early lead. Like he had like 40, 50 votes within the first hour. And
please.
I don't have.
No, it's fine. I mean, OV won, but I guess I wouldn't call that a debate per se. But you did win the.
There we go. All right, fair enough.
I don't have a wrench.
Would you call it a debate? Because it was more of like a.
Okay, yeah, let me put it in. I put it in the chat, but currently right now she has 101 votes, OV has 55, and Gandalf has 27.
There we go. But in terms of the hard problem of consciousness, I just like to ask: do you guys follow Sam Harris at all? Are you interested in Sam Harris? He seems to be obsessed with this question.
I watch his podcast regularly, like in 2-speed. I watch almost everything that if I don't participate in it, I watch it in 2-speed.
Good practice.
But I watch Sam Harris basically every week, unless he's got like a really uninteresting guest.
God forbid. I think that Jordan Peterson is more convincing than Sam Harris, to be honest. God forbid.
I like them both. I find them both congenial. I'm not going to worship either of them, but I think that they both add to the discussion.
I'm pretty versatile. I have a wide variety of sources, so I watch channels that they have a channel like Science and Non-Duality, the London Royal Society. So I follow quite a few channels that deal just with this topic in conferences that post videos. Besides like popular streamers like Sam Harris.
Nice. If it wasn't for that nose, Duvid would be pretty maneuverable. It's just that nose is it affects his aerodynamics.
Wouldn't it improve aerodynamics ultimately? I don't know if you recall. There was an addition. There was an addition, Ovi, of a rod. You might call it an aerodynamic nose to the Trident missile. in order to improve its aerodynamics, because the very kind of rounded spherical shape was made into a longer body by the addition of this pendulous appendage. So I think that actually you improve aerodynamics with such an addition.
Well, the ADL
Sounds like
added
you guys might need a physicist to settle this.
with the OK meme added to the ADL hate list. The Happy Merchant meme was actually added together to the hate list symbol list at the same time as the OK gesture.
Wow.
I was pretty surprised when somebody actually got fired for making an OK sign.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys hear there was a new article that came out? Something about how do you guys remember there was a judge, an American judge, that said that his children or his grandchildren or something like that would only get their inheritance if they married another person of
if
their
they
own
married
race.
a white Christian. If they married a Jew,
Yep.
he apparently pressured his daughter to break off an engagement or a relationship with a Jew, and that resulted in the overturning of a conviction of a Jewish man who was part of some sort of group which was involved in a murder, and so all of them get convicted under the Texas law.
Yeah, the something 7. Yeah, so it hasn't been overturned, but it's going to the Supreme Court now.
I misread. It was, as you say, it's just being challenged right now.
Right. Yeah. So they're saying that this judge is anti-Semitic because allegedly he said during the trial that you fucking Jew, you fucking K word, and this kind of thing.
Right, and because he seriously pressured his daughter not to marry a Jew or to break off a relationship with a Jew because of his Jewish, because he was Jewish.
I'm not familiar with that specific aspect, but
yeah, that was what caught my eye more than all the rest of the stuff. Was just that apparently it was serious enough to result in him ending a relationship that his daughter had.
Well, I think the major thing was not that he brought any specific. I mean, the original aspect was not the specific threats, if you want to call it that, quote unquote. But that he said, if you want your trust fund, you have to marry someone of your own race. He didn't specify that you had to be
Babs
Jewish.
is here. Babs is here.
Hey, Seagal Babs.
I'm dealing with.
Oh, you need to up your mic, Babs. Also, Ovi, I hate to be a buzzkill, but please don't say that on my channel. I do have to wonder.
Don't say that.
Yeah,
Hold on 1 minute.
Don't look for Kyle.
You can just say hail if you want.
Okay, all right. My friend Kyle, he's about this tall. If you've seen him, tell me if you've seen him. He's about this tall.
Right.
So I wanted to ask a question.
Daddy,
You're very faint, Babs, but I can hear
Duvid
you.
and Kyle.
Oh, that's better. Speak.
Yeah, to Duvid and Kyle, I'm curious. I have to dash out in a second. I may be able to come back later, but the Kylesian brand. Do you think that the Kylesian brand has staying power, and do you think that where do you see the Kylesian brand going in the future? Do you think that the Kylesian brand is inextricably linked to the Luke Ford show, or do you think that the Kylesian brand has potential for branching off? Every time I see you streaming, it seems like you have more people watching. Duvid, Kyle, what do you think about that?
I hope
You
so,
think your
but
predictions will be
we had
true, Duvid?
I don't know if you caught it, Babs, but we had like a very long conversation on this topic, probably like 30 minutes long, I think on your stream. So unless there's something new to add, maybe Duvid, you could speak to it briefly, but I don't want to talk about it for too long. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, anyone could build a brand. I mean, Kyle's an intelligent young man, seems to have streaming down. I'm sure he could build a brand. Whether he could become successful in terms of having guests or your audience, that that you become bigger than Luke Ford, or branch out where you start having a majority your own audience, as opposed to taking audience from people that watch Luke Ford or subscribe to Luke Ford and are also subscribed to you. That might take you a few years, because I mean, you've been on Luke Ford hundreds of times, and Luke Ford has thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of people that watch him. So presumably for even a year or two, the majority of people that watch you are probably going to be from the Lugosphere. So it would take you a pretty long time, probably over a year, unless you had someone, not even like JF or people within the Lugosphere. It'd have to be like someone completely different that platformed you. And
this is always about networking. So you don't build an audience without networking with larger creators. So yeah, that would be what it would depend on for sure.
Yeah, if you could get on like a channel that has like 100,000 views, that's largely unconnected to Luke Ford, maybe you could break out of the Luke Ford stream sphere right away. But just based on like networking within like the people you meet here, Babs, Week in Review, Halsey, it might take you a year or two till the majority of your audience is non-Lucosphere people.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree with that with that assessment. Yeah.
It's hard to get. I mean, 100 viewers is quite an accomplishment. But I'm saying, like, even if you had 100 live viewers, and took you a year or two to build up 100 live viewers, it's likely that 50 of those viewers are going to be people that migrated from the Lucosphere to you.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that totally. So, any other questions, Babs? Any other dirt you want to stir up?
If Bab, before he runs away, like, I had a Jewish thing that was pretty interesting. If any of you ever listened to Shaul Magid.
Wait, this is an entirely Jewish stream right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is something.
Wait. CERN is not Jewish, and I believe you're not.
Yeah.
And I believe Claire. Jen isn't either.
No, Jen's totally Jewish.
This is a conceptual framing that seems pretty interesting.
I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish. What are you talking about?
Magid. If you've heard of Shaul Magid, he's like a pretty prominent Judaic studies professor. He used to be at Dartmouth. Now I think he's like Indiana. He's written quite a few books. You could find him on like YouTube and Judaic studies programs, lectures. I assume you've heard the Jewish joke where like the guy is trapped on a desert island, and after like 10 years he finally gets rescued, and he's showing people around, and he's saying like, here's the two shuls, and it's like, why two shuls? And he's like, this is the shul I daven in, and this is the shul that I don't daven in. Which I mean, you've heard that joke.
But I have not. But yeah, there you go.
You've heard
now I have.
Like they say, like Israeli Jews, the Orthodox shul is the shul that they don't daven in. Like Israeli secular Jews don't go to shul, but the shul they don't go to is an Orthodox shul. So Shaul Magid used that framing and said Israel has become the shul that American Jews don't go to, and it just so is that conceptual framing that like most Jews have a shul they don't go to, and that informs their Judaism. So Israeli Jews don't go to the Orthodox shul, but if they went to shul, it would be the Orthodox shul. And American secular Jews, the shul they don't go to has become Israel, and that kind of informs American Jewish politics now, where the religion itself has been taken over by, instead of having like the Reform shul or conservative shul that they don't go to, now that their shul that they don't go to has become Israel.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I thought that was interesting. I mean, you could look up if Shaul Magid's a pretty prominent, that he was at Dartmouth, and he's a big scholar, written a lot of books on Jewish studies, and that's how he was framing it. I thought that was kind of interesting, and maybe you or Babs or even OV might appreciate that framing.
OV says in the stream, I thought it was Calician. I'm the Calisi, says
and
Babylonian
actually, when people accuse you of being a dual citizen, Kyle, and you said you're not Israeli.
No.
I saw like Shulam Rav Ashkin came and spoke in Detroit, and I live streamed it on my channel, and he was actually held in prison for 80 days on the dual citizenship aspect, where, I mean, he was not an Israeli citizen. He was born in Brooklyn, and when he was considered a flight risk for being a dual citizen. He's like, he only has one citizenship, U.S. citizenship, but because the right of return, he could have automatic U.S. citizenship. They held him in prison for 80 days, and then eventually they had a whole bunch of Jewish organizations that finally got them released.
Right.
So that concept of dual citizenship actually has precedence in the U.S. courts just because of the right of return.
Right. So that's related to his status as a flight risk, which is not purely because he has a place to go, but also just because of other things that make him a flight risk. So, yeah, I
In
mean,
this case, it was
courts have a lot of
specifically
leeway
because
in these terms.
the right of return. I'm saying it was actually
Yeah.
legislated in court and appealed.
Right. So yeah, I mean, courts have a lot of leeway in these regards, and you don't have a right to necessarily to be let out. I mean, it's a determination that the court makes if you're a flight risk, and it does seem like that is a factor in determining whether you're going to run if you have somewhere to run. So I obviously have somewhere to run, and that's fine. I don't see it as being a negative thing, but obviously people are free to disagree.
I didn't realize. I think I had read that before and heard that before. But when people say like the dual citizenship, and say like, well, actually, they could say yes, all Jews in America are essentially dual citizens. Even if you're like, what do you mean? I'm not a dual citizen. Like I've never applied to move to Israel. But you could say, well, you could. Therefore, you're a dual citizen.
Yeah, in certain terms, maybe. I think that I don't think that it's actually true that it's that it's equivalent in terms of law, but obviously there is that factor in certain specific cases. So yeah, but I don't think that
risk is
I don't think
different
that much hinges on that ruling, right? I don't think that people's perspective on Jews in America will change based on that ruling, or that the status of Jews in America will change based on that ruling.
Office, you can't serve in the U.S. government as a Jew because like you're a dual citizen.
Well,
like, no,
that's
I'm
not true.
US
Dual citizens can serve in the U.S. government.
But people
it's not
say they want to make a rule that
Right.
dual citizens can't serve in office, and that would
Oh, yeah.
mean that potentially that
potentially
would
that
mean
the Jews could not serve in office. Yeah. But I presume that you could do something like renunciation, right? That applies to other situations. So you could probably theoretically renounce, and Israel would probably facilitate that in a case where Jews abroad were being threatened because of their right of return. But that's a very distant possibility in American politics. And frankly, if there is such a situation where that is a politically viable thing to happen, I think that we have rather bigger problems than our right to serve in the government.
Yeah, I just know that's a accusation that's leveled at you constantly, and it was interesting. Shulam Ravashkin, did speak about that when he was here in Detroit.
Right.
I'm kind of curious, Kyle. What are the bigger problems that you see
One
in respect
second.
to what you just?
Just quickly shut this. Oh. Yeah. I'd like to ask. Sorry, I hate to be a stickler about it, but I do ask that you turn your video off for the purposes of the stream, just because the flag in the background is an issue for me. I don't want to be a stickler, but
I mean, what's wrong with the flag?
I think that that sort of symbology is not welcome on my stream, and also not necessarily welcome on YouTube. And so for those two reasons, I don't want that flag on my stream.
All right, fair enough. So Kyle, you know that I'm part Ashkenazi, right?
That doesn't surprise me. I think that you actually see a lot of involvement with Jews among anti-Semites, either ancestry or being married. I think it is very common. So
OV is a feces covered rat in the chat.
Wait, say you have to say that. Babs is coming in for the ambush, but I didn't hear what Babs said. Unfortunately, it was a little bit quiet.
He was referencing the feces-covered rat thing that I said earlier about people with politics that I don't like, particularly far-right politics. Racialist politics in the conservative movement. And one should understand that statement comes in a certain context. It was in the context of me fighting essentially a war over that space with people who were directly personally attacking me and attacking my race. And so at that point, I feel completely justified in responding as vociferously as possible. That being said, as is evident, I'm always for dialogue as long as that dialogue is open and honest. and as long as it
Babs, you're
doesn't
back.
overstep certain bounds that violate either my sensibilities, my morality, or the terms of our host.
Babs, you're back. Did you
Yeah.
want to?
No, I was just saying Ovi is a typical chat box feces covered rat. Like if I could think of like one individual to perfectly like sum it up, it would be Ovi.
Very kind of you, Babs. Babs always comes in to bring the blood sports level up as high as possible.
Oh, I have a lot of fun. People accuse me of being this this hateful person. Oh, you think that Uncle A was this great man? Well, yeah, Uncle A was a great man, but thinking that Uncle A was a great person does not mean that I'm a. I mean, not all of the mainstream ideas about Uncle A are actually true. So
Well, that's beyond a doubt. But the issue is that the issue is the reasons for this emphasis. You can always place different emphasis on history, and so my objection to people with your political standpoint is that it stands in opposition to American values and to my heritage and to, I think, the heritage of every American who has ancestors who fought in the Second World War.
yeah, my grandfather fought in the Second War as well.
Right.
The Second World War.
Yeah.
And he was on the American side as well.
Right.
Actually.
Right. Yeah. That doesn't surprise me.
What's the difference in American policy where we basically make up and team up with our former enemies, all the time? Like basically every single war after World War II, we became allies, and like Kevin Michael Grace is always saying, like the surest path to getting U.S. citizenship is to lose a war to America. That why would the Nazis?
Yeah. My objection is not to Germans. Indeed, I have German ancestry. My objection is to Nazis. I object to that political movement. I object to the actions of those who acted under that banner. It's not a generalized objection where I hate Germans or I have any particular antipathy towards Germans in general. I think that the West, for instance, was very wise to try to make West Germany as powerful as possible as a counterbalance to the Soviets.
Well, I'm differentiating, like obviously as a Jew, and even as a Jew, that you could say Israel might be taking a different policy if you take the hardcore view of what Israel's doing, like Ukraine and Hungary and allyship, but just saying that it's a general trend that after you defeat an army that somehow you have to revive those people. So I'm not talking the German people, I'm talking actual Nazis that you can't kill every one of them, and the movement still continues.
But if you renounce Nazi ideology, if you renounce the Nazi party and the actions of the Nazis, then I don't think that you're a Nazi anymore, presuming that was a genuine statement on your part, or that it was indistinguishable from genuine in terms of its consequences.
Yeah, I was saying, one thing, there were probably millions of Nazi supporters in America, and it's impossible to get full renunciation of the losing side.
Not only that, wait, David, you were talking earlier the other day about how there were Jews who were Nazi supporters as well.
Well, there were Jews who were Nazis. I'm saying we know that there were.
Yeah, absolutely.
There were at least 50,000, possibly more, Jews who were card-carrying Nazis.
Yeah, it would be surprising if there weren't any. Yeah, especially if you're counting people with Jewish ancestry, by the maternal line, as being fully Jewish, or just considering people with Jewish ancestry Jewish for whatever reason. You're going to have a lot of Nazis who are Jewish.
Yeah, you had a decent amount of 100% Jews that were Nazis, some that were Aryanized, some that hid the fact that they were Jewish, and then you had half Jews, quarter Jews, and then you had probably. You certainly had some Zionist collaborators. You probably had Jewish murderers, like we discussed this last time. That saying, like there's millions of Jews, so
I don't find that surprising at all, frankly.
But the point I was making that there were tens of millions of Nazis, so obviously the movement's not going to disappear, and you can't.
Oh, but it is. It is
Yeah,
going to disappear, in much the same way that the supporters of the Tsar eventually disappeared, or the supporters of the Kaiser eventually disappeared. It's that the support for political movements and for political entities is
But
plastic
that's
to
not actually
political
true.
circumstances.
I mean, you talk about a supporters of a czar, maybe like a specific czar that died and was deposed.
And of monarchy in Russia. Those supporters were pretty well stamped out. Eventually, there was a civil war, but eventually those forces were stamped out.
Was killed or disposed. So if you're saying but even the Romanov family, you say there's not really people there that are going to say like Russia should be put in charge of the descendants of the Romanov family.
Right.
But Nazis are more an ideology, and they were a bigger movement.
Well, they're also rooted. I mean, I think that they'd be offended by the idea that they're not rooted in their rule of Germany, or that was not the seat of their power and the essence of their power. So I don't believe that. Like, for instance, I don't believe that people who sympathize with Nazis in America represent the continuation of that movement in a real sense. I think they represent sort of a desire to act out in a way that is unacceptable socially. I don't think.
What is
yeah.
your opinion, Kyle? Real quick. And by the way, we got a couple. We got a we got a couple new guests. But real quick before we get to them. By the way, Mike, my co-host, is here, and Daniel's here as well, and dude, we got the entire fucking crew here right now. Jesus
We
Christ.
do indeed.
Daniel.
The whole rat pack is here from
the whole rat pack. Yeah.
From the feces processing filtration facility.
I'd like to ask Ov and Mike, how did your relationship start? Because that's very mysterious to me, at least looking from the outside. How has your relationship gone? How did it blossom? What's behind that story?
Well, that's a funny story, actually.
How much money did I give you, Mike, for you to be my co-host?
It was paid in the entertainment value.
It was
coming on your show.
It was paid in foreskins, is what it was paid in.
No, basically, I just followed people, off of the Luke Ford show. Somehow I ended up on OV's channel, and that was back in the day when he had all the Wignats on and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like arguing in the chat, you could probably think about what it would be like to come across the filthiest room you've ever seen, and trying to like argue in it, and they mostly just block you.
Right.
But
I will say that Ov has proven fairly reasonable. Like I think that I was expecting a more spicy personality, but I think that a lot of the spice just arose from the situation in that I had seen it like with people besides Ov. Ov himself seems to be pretty well mannered.
Yeah,
that's a fair point. Yep.
He invited me on his show, like, all right, come on the show or we're gonna block you. So it was just weird going on his show, and I didn't want to be a bitch, right? I didn't want to bitch out, so I went on his show.
Yeah.
But he wasn't that mean at first. It was like,
did he get me?
What do you mean? Wasn't that mean at first? What do you mean by that?
You kind of had people on just to like fuck with them, and it was your whole crew, right? It was like
right, yeah. The crew kind of fucks things up, yeah, definitely.
What you guys would do, like bullying people.
That's how it always
I mean,
goes.
Typical goy tactic. Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's typical, right? You'll have people gang up unless there's a strong whip hand to break them up. Then you're gonna have people behave in some bad ways, right, Babs?
Exactly. Yeah. Do you prefer a cat and nine tails or like there's
a bullwhip, man?
Electric whips.
The bullwhip is the first supersonic object created by humans.
But we just had interesting conversations,
Yeah.
So I just went back and it was like, well, we're not going to bridge our differences, but
yeah, I mean, I'll reiterate, I absolutely disagree with Ov's views, but that's and my values are diametrically opposed to his, but we can talk, and as long as that talk is civil and above board, then I think that it's absolutely it's desirable to have a conversation that does not stray beyond the bounds of civility and the rules of the platform, and obviously the sensibilities of the host.
Did we find Kyle just now? Did we find him? He's about this tall. Did we find him?
You know, I think that you're about to get the what's it called, the rat web.
Oh, am I?
The
Things
cat
get too
o'
out of
nine
hand.
tails.
Things get too out of hand. I'll just cut the stream off basically because it is getting late.
Oh,
Yeah. The question. Okay. No. I'm here and now I'm taking control. Okay.
now we've
My
got a
question is-
Rothschild here now.
Yeah.
So.
No. I'm not a. Okay. First of all, I'm not like just one married into my family.
I
I'm not a
know.
director's son. Second of all, what do you call it? Literally, oh man, I completely spaced on what I was saying. Shit.
Richard
Yeah.
Rothschilds. You don't have to. He's richer than the Rothschilds. Leona Helmsley's cousin.
Look at Dubin.
Pardon.
Look at Dubin coming in. Oh, those fucking Rothschilds. You know?
Rothschilds, they're not even that rich. What are you talking about?
I'm gonna give you here. I can give a tour of Babylonian Manor. Here. Is the camera
Dude,
picking up on this?
Aaron
This one?
Abihood is in chat. Can we get Aaron on here as well? Like,
But wait,
that's
let's
Yeah, get
let
him
Babs talk. Let's let Babs talk.
All right,
Babs has
all
something to say.
Well, no, I'd be interested in Aaron potentially coming on here. It's based on what I was saying. Yeah, just it was interesting seeing you on the streams the last few times, Kyle. I liked what I saw. How long do you think, if you were like the ruler of a country and the chat box was the country, how long do you think it would take before a violent revolution occurred?
Well, I think pretty long. Like people who like violent revolutions usually take place after the founders are buried, right? So the descendants get weaker and weaker with time. They go to seed, and then you have the revolution usually. I don't believe that the revolution usually starts out or usually happens with the people who actually started the whole thing.
That's not the way that it happened with the Third Reich.
Wait, but the
Typical.
that wasn't. I don't think that's analogous, right? Like the regime that the Third Reich overthrew was one imposed by foreign powers. So it wasn't like the regime the Third Reich overthrew was founded by people who had conquered or taken over Germany, like in the way that I'm talking about.
You're saying that the Treaty of Versailles wasn't you're saying that the Treaty of Versailles was entirely fair?
No, but you keep on conflating everything with fairness, right? So, I mean,
Well,
or
I mean,
rather,
are you saying
everything for you
yeah.
boils down to fairness. In
No,
point
no,
of fact,
no,
yes.
that's not what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
Yeah, it's like Jonathan Haidt talks about when he talks about the moral axis and fairness, and you like your fairness. You like your little fairness, don't you?
Well,
likes
wait,
his
no,
fairness.
hold on.
Wait,
You
wait,
have
wait,
the little
but
fair-
to
you have
answer
your little
OV,
fairness
to
value.
answer OV, I think that the Treaty of Versailles was more generous than what Germany would impose on the losers if Germany won.
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. When I bring up the Treaty of Versailles, I'm not saying that it was fair or not fair or anything like that. But the point is that the Treaty of Versailles was still imposed by outside powers, whether they were France or whether they were the Jewish subversives or whether they were the Britain. Which all one and the same. But the point of the matter is that
I'm glad
whether
that you're so much of a lionizer of Jewish power. It's quite gratifying to see all of these powers ascribed to the Jews.
I'm more than happy to admit that Jewish power exists. Yeah.
But I think that you have to recognize that Germany sought rather harsher things for its opponents than its opponents sought for Germany when they stood victorious over her.
The Treaty of however you say that word, Treaty of Brest-Litovsk.
Brest-Litovsk, something like that.
That was a pretty harsh treaty that they imposed on the Russians.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I just read this interesting article. There's a new book that came out about how the Russian citizens were actually, the idea that the Soviet citizens during Operation Barbarossa were all in favor of Stalin and all in favor of the Russian government.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Who says that? Who's ever said that, actually?
Well, okay, so
Has there ever been anyone?
there's-
Has literally
fair
anyone
enough.
ever said that?
Daniel
Sure, no,
might
okay,
say
but
that.
well, yeah, Daniel says that.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh
Well, he
shit,
would be
he's
the
gonna
one.
come on now.
If anyone would do
Yeah.
that, he would do that.
So yeah. I mean, yeah, this is kind of maybe a little bit more of an esoteric argument, but yeah, the idea that Germany would have been super harsh on the Russians,
Well, it
or
was when it won. When it won the war with the Russians, it was harsh. Harsh
no,
Germany.
Germany. What are you talking about? World War One or World
Yeah.
War Two?
Yeah, and
World War One.
World War One. Yeah. Well, but also during World War Two, the terms that it sought were even more brutal, and
Yeah,
it was
but
able
here's
to
the thing,
enact
right?
that on much of
I'm
Russia
coming. I'm
or much
coming
of
at this
Soviet
from
territory.
Yeah, but here's the
Hold
problem,
on one
right?
second. Hold on. Shove your feet
Babs.
covered rodent mouth. Okay. I just
Yeah.
wanted to say. Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to. Yeah. No. I just wanted to say, like, this is like an old school Babscast. We have Duvid and Levi and Mike, and now Kyla's here. Yet another addition. And I just wanted to say, like the old school Babylonian Jew streams. Before we bring Levi in, who just showed up, I just wanted to, and I know Levi has some stuff to say. Levi's the #1 Kyle fan in these circles. He's a Kyle appreciator, Kyle Rowland respecter. Juvid, do you think that you could sing a Hebrew or Jewish song to open up this Jew stream?
Are you guys gonna fast on Yom Kippur? Kyle, do you fast on Yom Kippur?
I do not.
You're not. You don't do anything.
No, I was raised entirely secular by my Jewish mother. She was born to a liberal family, right? So there are secular Jews in Israel, and they're often not practicing. So that was the
So
situation.
was it an Orthodox synagogue that you didn't go to?
There was no. She's not really tied to any synagogue, right? Or so.
From the synagogue you didn't even have an Orthodox synagogue that you didn't go to.
Right, exactly. Yeah. There wasn't even a synagogue to not go to.
Like like your brother, none of your first
No.
cousin.
No. Cousins. That's an interesting question, but probably not. Just from what I've seen of them, like they're definitely not Orthodox.
You don't even know what like Usana Tokef is.
No.
Uchuva, Stucco, Tefillah, Mavirinus, Gezerah, Roa. You have no idea the prayers or any of the.
No. We never did any prayers or bar mitzvah or anything.
Okay.
There
That's
you
we
go.
need a podcast to sing like preparation for Yom Kippur.
And that could be nice. It's not that I'm hostile to it. It's just it was never part of my upbringing at all.
Yeah, that woman of the New Right said she fasted on Tisha B'Av the first time in her life this year. I yell at Sheked. So fasted on Tisha B'Av for the first time in her life this year.
Oh wow. Yeah, she's in like a coalition with some religious people, so it makes sense, doesn't it? Like considering that her political fates were tied to the religious people in her coalition, it makes sense that she would start to find a little bit of religion at least.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The suspicion would be the synagogue you don't go to is Orthodox, as opposed to like Babs is a member of a Reform. That you say like would you align if you started looking into Judaism? Would you say okay, Orthodox is the form of Judaism, I just don't want to do it, or would you align and say like I kind of like a Reform?
No. I would never go halfway, right? I would never be like, oh well, I want to dip my toes in this. If I was deciding that this was a thing that I wanted to do, I would go the whole hog. I would be Orthodox. I would not go to a Reform synagogue.
And say that your ancestors were incorrect and modify the religion, and so to say reform it, take certain still do some of the rituals and change the rest. So you look at it like the typical Israeli, that if you're going to do it, you should do it like the Orthodox.
Yeah. That's what I would say. I would not say that you should try to move into these liberal directions with your religion. If you believe in your religion, then believe in your religion.
But that puts you on the outs with the majority of American Jews. I'm saying that's a typical...
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, okay. What's the proportion? What's the size of the Reformed Jewish community? I don't think it's very large compared to Orthodox or secular.
Well, I'm saying the Reform are kind of like better U.S. citizens, better Americans than the Orthodox, and like the new Israeli...
I disagree. I think that the Orthodox are
Reform are basically secular. I mean, in their beliefs.
Yeah, and
I mean,
they're
they
left
believe in
wing.
God, but they're still liberal as shit.
Yeah, but the Reform will admit that our religion is messed up. So if you're arguing with someone who's like, look at all the stuff that your religion does, so the Reform would be like, yes, you're right. Our ancestors were kind of messed up, but they didn't know any better, and therefore we reformed ourselves.
Yeah, but
No. The problem with reform.
If I was going to do the religion, I would be just as messed up as my ancestors were and proud of it.
No, the problem with reform is that their political beliefs are essentially the same as secular Jews. That's the problem with reform Jews.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
like
David. I'm politically more aligned with the Orthodox than with the Reform Jews. So I would agree with in politics much more with Orthodox Jews than with Reform Jews. And I don't see Orthodox Jews as being bad citizens.
Yeah, and that's the irony of the coalition. That's the irony of the state you find yourself as someone with the beliefs that you have.
Kyle is an anti-Semite
in
confirmed.
America. I mean, saying the Reform attitude, it makes sense to be a Reform Jew in America, as where like your whole stance, like if you're Orthodox, you're like, okay, like we're in Gaulis, and you say you like long term, you don't plan to be in America, and your status as an Israeli in America, it's like okay, like so you're just a draft dodger or like whatever.
No, I mean, I think that
it's not fair to look at you as just a draft dodger.
I don't think so. Well, obviously there are a lot of possibilities, and if you were to see, say, Orthodox Jews constitute a large portion of America, or even just more generally, I think that the idea of them serving in the army is probably ultimately necessary, and I think that if they serve,
I'm saying that you're a draft dodger,
but I'm not.
Well, you are, because it's saying that there's no reason for you to be in America, and according to your theology and supporting Israel, in essence, you're just a draft dodger.
You're saying if I'm Orthodox?
No, as if you were Orthodox, then you wouldn't be a draft dodger, because you're not Orthodox. You're basically, whether legally you could be put in prison. You're saying you're not technically an Israeli citizen. If you were an Israeli citizen,
right? But none of this makes me a draft dodger.
Well, I'm calling you a draft dodger. Like as a Jew, I'm calling you out and saying like no, Kyle, you're just a draft dodger.
How am I a draft dodger?
For the sake of argument, you're saying like you're not a good Jew, you're not a good Israeli, like you're a draft dodger.
Well,
yeah, but you're talking about my relationship to Israel as opposed to America, right? So I mean, there are two conversations here about dodging responsibility in America or in Israel.
The whole reason you're here because you're a draft dodger.
I'm not an Orthodox Jew, and sure, you view my responsibility as being to Israel, but I view my responsibility as being to America.
I have to say, I understand the argument that David is making, and in a general sense, David is correct. I mean, the Orthodox
is a draft dodger.
Huh? What?
You agree that Kyle's essentially a draft dodger?
Well, Kyle is not an Israeli citizen. So he can't dodge a draft that he's, from a country that he's not actually a citizen of.
Moreover, Israel does not consider it draft dodging for someone to live in America, even if they are an Israeli citizen. If you live abroad, that's a reason to be exempt from the draft, in fact.
David, you're making me defend Kyle. You're making me
from the Orthodox perspective, Kyle is a bad Jew because he's not Orthodox. From the Israeli perspective, Kyle is a bad Jew because he's a draft dodger.
But that's not the perspective that Israel puts forward to me at all.
Yeah,
well, it's not even the perspective that Israel puts forward to its own citizens who are abroad.
Some of them would.
That's actually an issue.
You never had an Israeli call you a draft dodger. You never met an Israeli that called you a draft dodger.
No, not even remotely.
Wait a second.
They were actually very, very, very gratified to see me visiting, especially when the rockets were falling down. Exaggerated as that danger may have been, they were grateful to see people still coming to Israel as Israel was under attack. There was no notion that I was a draft dodger for not enlisting with the IDF, having grown up in America.
By saying if you don't enlist, you're basically a draft dodger. Saying if you're
but only in your opinion. There's no one else who I've seen advance that opinion.
Here's the problem though, is that you can find.
I think a better term might be freeloader.
Well,
No, it's
well,
worse than a free will
maybe, but
return.
here's the problem. The
That you
problem
say-
is that you can find as many leftist Jews as you can find Orthodox Jews that are draft dodgers. I mean, I don't really see a difference between the Tel Aviv style Jews versus the ultra Orthodox Jews. I mean, they both dodge the draft. I mean, if you're trying to find a difference,
I don't think
between
the Tel
two,
Aviv
it's
Jews
like,
actually do dodge the draft. I think that they do go to the army, but they do probably avoid strenuous service by certain measures, or at the very least, maybe are problematic in other regards. But that being said, I just don't see. I don't see that there's really an argument here, right? I think that this is all about how you characterize like a situation that we all agree on.
Yeah, but saying your politics don't correspond with avoiding the draft. You're saying that if your politics are real,
Not avoiding the
then-
draft in America, but avoiding the draft in Israel, as you call it. Absolutely. I mean, I don't believe that I have a duty to run to Israel and sign up that counterbalances my duty to America, the country that I grew up in, the country that has raised me, and frankly, given Israel's attitude towards me, I don't see this as being something that's coming from Israel. Israel's attitude towards me is welcoming, and there's no notion of resentment from the fact that I'm a diaspora Jew from the Israelis that I've met, or from the Israeli government, which basically gives out free goodies to diaspora Jews to come visit. So the attitude of Israel is diametrically opposed to the attitude that you project towards the diaspora Jews.
And Kyle's on the front lines of battle right here, arguing it out every single night. That's more.
that doesn't
The
count.
trenches, in the trenches, bro.
You got to enlist in saying, like, I mean, there's certainly opinions that, like, your mother committed a severe sin when she left Israel. That they're saying it's absolutely forbidden to leave Israel.
Yep, and probably by marrying who she married. Yeah, I mean, there are people who consider that to be a grave sin, and that's life, right? If I was to become Orthodox, then I would have to concur with that opinion, or at least to some degree I concur with that opinion. And that's one of the barriers you can see to me becoming Orthodox.
One is you become Orthodox, or two is you enlist. Other than that, you're basically a bad Jew.
Well, in your opinion,
Well, in the
and that's
opinion of
fine. I don't need to be
sizable
considered a good Jew by all Jews, David.
The only way to redeem yourself as a Jew is either to enlist or to repent.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
You can
Well,
make
it's
up
not
for it by
I'm saying I'm surprised that you've never had that put to you like that.
Well,
make up for
you
it
shouldn't
by
find it that surprising. Most people don't talk in these terms, right? Like particularly in secular circles, it would be very rare to find someone who's talking in these terms.
Well, no, because in Israel, secular people had to go through military service, and they would be, either jealous or hold a grudge against you that you skirted your duties that they had to fulfill. In the same way, you look at the Orthodox.
Someone who was
people,
born outside of Israel and who grew up entirely outside of Israel is shirking. That's not a typical view at all. I don't think that view is typical among any Israelis, frankly.
Well, there is some respect in saying, even if it's someone like me or Babs, who whose parents weren't Israeli, that there is a resentment there to say, yes, you don't deserve the title Jew. And
Okay,
say, oh,
but
if you're an Orthodox
I just
Jew-
haven't heard that sentiment from anyone else. That's all. So you're welcome to that sentiment, but I just don't get that anywhere else except from you, and that's part of why your perspective is so valuable, David. You bring something to the table that no one else does.
I'm not even. I mean, my personal sentiment. I'm against mandatory military service.
Right,
but
but I'm saying that like the perspective that you're bringing to the table.
It's a right-wing sentiment. So if you're espousing right-wing beliefs, and a lot of people, right-wing supporters of Israel in America, think that America should institute mandatory government service here in America too. So it's saying, like, it just questions your position. Where is your footing as a Jew? As someone like, okay, you're not Orthodox and you didn't serve your country.
Oh yeah. So
What do you
my status as a Jew just depends on the fact that everyone who cares about it considers me a Jew. So the people who Israel considers me a Jew. The religious authorities of Judaism consider me a Jew. The people who are anti-Semitic consider me a Jew. I consider myself a Jew. So in all those ways, I'm Jewish. If there was like some break in this wall of people who consider me Jewish, then I wouldn't call myself Jewish. But Jewish just seems to be the label that applies to me. It's not like a triumphant claim. It's just a descriptor.
Like, you don't look in the mirror and be like, shit, I'm a bad Jew.
No. I don't.
Well,
I don't consider
actually,
that's a religious type of thinking.
Kyle, there's kind of a flaw in your argument. There are people who consider me Jewish in the white nationalist community.
Are you maternally Jewish?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you would even be considered Jewish by Jewish religious authorities.
He's not maternal. He's only 2% Jewish.
Look Look at David coming in. David swooping in like a vulture.
No, but he didn't answer Kyle's question in the way that you
I
meant.
did. My mother is Jewish.
You're saying your mother's 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 mother.
How far back does it have to go, David?
If it's 3 generations without
Three
an Orthodox
generations?
Jew in your family,
Okay.
you're
So,
not considered a Jew unless you're descended from a Holocaust survivor. So if you're only 2% Jewish,
oh, yeah, if only you're a Holocaust survivor. That's what counts. You just have to be a Holocaust survivor.
well, I think for Israel, if you're only 2% Jewish, even if it was your mother's 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 mother who was
David, you're contradicting yourself. Back in the day,
Ovi, was
back-
your grandmother a practicing Jew, or did you consider her Jewish identity important in any way?
the Israeli law that it doesn't matter if his if his mother's 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 mother was a Jew, that would not make him a Jew according to Israeli law.
Right. So there are various things like that come into play.
Look how this works. See, Jews love to say that, like, oh, well, didn't you know that Natalie Portman, her family was raised Jewish, and so she's Jewish. But then, as soon as an anti-Semite,
there's
has
disagreement.
Jewish blood,
It's
is
not
Bobby
about that,
Fischer
Ovi.
Jewish? Is
No,
Bobby
that's your
Fischer
fault. You
Jewish?
said that
It's not
the
about
Nat-
that, Ovi. It's just a matter of how people would describe you without your political beliefs being a factor.
People
And
have
so-
a right to call you a Jew. I mean, saying a Nazi who has 0% Jew in them, even though Jews don't consider you a Jew, does a Nazi have a right to exclude you because you're 2% Jewish blood? And you say, well, yeah, maybe they could define their terms however they want. Why
Right.
can't they call you a Jew if they want?
We're talking about practice here. So I consider myself Jewish because of all these
Here's the
different
problem.
entities that consider me Jewish, and myself considering myself Jewish. So if you don't
Yeah,
consider
but
yourself
here's the
Jewish,
thing. Here's the thing,
and none of these
Kyle,
entities consider
is
you
that-
Jewish, then it doesn't make sense for you to call yourself a Jew, does it?
Well, here's the problem, Kyle, is that Duvid has, at certain points in time, said that I'm his distant cousin. That I actually am Jewish. It doesn't matter. One drop is enough. I am Duvid's.
Well, you are a distant
part of
cousin in
Duvid's
those
tribe.
terms. You are a
That's
distant
just
cousin in those terms.
genealogy. Well, I mean, we haven't compared family trees. Like me and Babs have compared family trees, and you're saying, okay, it's reasonably likely that me and Babs are actually cousins, and we could actually find an exact genealogy. And say, no,
Duvid, you've
I don't
called
think-
me your distant cousin before. Don't
Well,
even try to
everyone's
lie.
my
Don't try to
distant-
hide it.
everyone on the planet is my distant cousin. So
Right. And your cousins in that
Yeah.
other special way, Ovi.
But I think
But yeah,
I call Babs my distant cousin.
Right.
I think we actually could match ourselves on our personal family trees. When I call you my distant cousin, you haven't doxed yourself. You'd have to show me your family tree, and we could do the
Oh.
genealogy.
yeah, but
I've shown you
this
my
is-
face, Duvid, and I still haven't doxed myself. I have to give Duvid my fucking address in order for me to dox
No, I'm
myself.
Yep.
talking about genealogy. So what does it mean? Like, okay, everyone on this channel.
You
is
could
probably
just-
my,
you-
my distant
Ovi,
cousin.
you could just give him your grandmother's name or your great grandmother's name. Which
Even
would be
CERN
all
is
you
my
need to-
distant cousin. I mean, CERN might be my 80th distant cousin. Or
I'm just all I'm
further than that.
saying is that these arguments that Duvid is making today are different than the arguments that he made in the past when he was trying to be
playing
friends
around
with me.
You're just
When
playing
Duvid was trying to drive a wedge between me and the Nazis,
You're just
other
playing around
Nazi
with words.
people, other Nazi supporters, these arguments that Duvid was making today are totally different than the arguments that Duvid was making in the past.
No, they're
That's
not.
all
You're
I'm
just
saying.
playing- you're
That's
just
all I'm
playing
saying.
around with words for
Anyway,
no good reason.
I think Levi hasn't gotten to speak yet. Maybe Levi wants to speak. He's in the hangout. Hi, Levi.
Yeah, go ahead. You're just
Hey,
playing
what's up?
for no
Hey,
good
good to
reason.
see you, man.
Wait, Fletcher, you're
I-
Levi?
Yeah,
Oh, you fucking faggot. You talking
Please,
shit in
language.
chat all the time?
yeah, what's up, motherfucker? Looks like a fucking dick. Yeah, I agree with. I
Oh,
agree
Jesus
with what
Christ.
Kyle was saying,
Jesus
so-
Christ, Levi. Jesus Christ.
Let's see what.
Go ahead. Yeah. Blow some smoke at my ass, Levi. Go ahead.
One funny thing about these hangouts is just the absolute state of the control system. But anyway, yeah, Levi, do you have any thoughts on politics in general, or on the recent Luke streams, or on any of the members of the hangout besides Ovi? I don't want to turn it into a fight between you and Ovi. But
No. It's all good.
No, nothing much really. I was kind of sitting back and enjoying the show.
what do you think of the future of the Kyle stream, the Kyle world? Is it in these broad panel discussions, or is it in more narrowly focused, narrowly tailored conversations, as I have with CERN?
I think they both have their place. Like these are actually pretty entertaining, but narrow focus ones are also pretty good. So a
Awesome.
good balance, I guess, is ideal.
Yeah, I enjoy them in like completely different ways. It's kind of interesting. Like the narrowly tailored ones always leave me with a warm glow in my heart. But the ones that have a broader perspective, they're obviously just a lot more. It's more adrenaline, more excitement. You feel more alive.
A little bit more high tea, I guess you could say.
I don't know about
Super
that,
high
bro.
tea, maybe.
Super high tea would be awesome. I want that. I want that trophy. I want super high tea to be on my channel first. I wanna deliver that to the Luke Nation.
It'd be like,
Man, I would love to see him on a stream. He'd probably be really good.
Yeah,
it was like
hell
when
yeah.
we got Large on stream, and we actually heard his voice. That was interesting.
Yeah, I need to bring him on as well. He was actually a big contributor. He has some interesting market thoughts. We could have some more bets, some more betting action on the coming recession, when the coming recession is going to come. Timing the drop, bros.
Yeah, definitely.
Make a lot of money if you can time the drop, man.
I actually had
Right.
some thoughts on like your battles with the Brundle clique and all these
Yeah.
people in the Bab stream.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I think you're a really, really good debater. You know the facts well. You can argue well. So it was good that you kind of stuck to your guns and battled all those people like Matt
Yeah.
Bay, Brundle, even
And-
guys like No Apologies. He would come on a little bit. He's kind of he has a pretty
And-
good following.
Those three seem to like my issue. The reason why it got so laden with invective is that they spent like literally hours just trying to piss me off, trying to say the things that would make me the most angry or that could be the most insulting and deep cutting. Like that's what Matt
what?
Bay. Well, I was asked that recently by Brundle, and it's like it's hard to say exactly what. I mean, I could show you quotes, but it's not like they were using one-word insults. It's just that whenever I would do something, they would characterize that in the worst way possible, and that's what they would do in the chat. And then you can look on Twitter as well at what Brundlefly and Matt Vey are saying is not very flattering, and it includes things like trying to like get me in trouble with YouTube, which is just really scummy.
But yeah, I think you got to kind of wear that as a badge of honor. Like there's a reason why they're coming after you.
Hell yeah.
And, yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. It's. I mean, being a Jew isn't really a badge of honor. Like, we're
Hell yeah,
if
it
you're a
is.
Jew, we're gonna come after you. So
Hell
that's not
yeah.
the sole reason why they're coming after him.
Yeah, and that's definitely true. Like look at the other Jews on the stream; they didn't get the same amount of pushback as me.
Well, I mean, to be fair
Thanks.
though, Kyle, like it's you that goes on Luke Ford's stream. You do your own streams. I mean, you do kind of have your own. I don't know what you want to call it.
Perspective.
Yeah, well,
Ideology.
no, not perspective. No, I mean, no, you're kind of like in the limelight, so to
Mhm.
speak. Right?
Oh, for sure.
You do a lot of counter signaling, and that invites a lot of hate.
Oh, for sure.
And you argue it pretty well. I would say. I guess my like constructive criticism that might help you, maybe something worth thinking about is I think you're really good at debating ideas, and you don't have to. I know you get into the heat of the moment, and some of these people are it's just some offensive shit or whatever. But I don't think you need to revert to the insults. I think you're better off just arguing the ideas, whether it's like, Daniel, what he called you parasitic or something, which is, something that's not going to make you very happy.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
the insults
not
are
only
like a
that-
way of keeping things on an even keel, right? Like if I get a lot of insults thrown my way, like I don't think that Ovi has even thrown a single like personal insult at me, or well, I might be
True.
my threshold might be high, but that's my impression. And so like I don't think that it's appropriate for me to throw invective back. It's just that when that starts throwing out, if I'm receiving it and not putting it out, it makes one think like, do I think myself to be in an inferior position or to not have the same moral gravity as the people who are throwing the insults? These are the things that come to mind, I think. And yeah, I mean. It's an interesting question. I've thought about like being more analytical, but I think that the mix of analysis and invective actually works pretty well in terms of trying to limit the invective. thrown at me.
I did hear one thing, and this is not something that I've witnessed myself, just something that I've heard through the grapevine, is that apparently I've heard, Kyle, that you will purposely lower people's volume.
I did that once. I actually literally only figured out that trick once during my last conversation with Barndofly. He was talking while I was talking, and I was like, I'm going to mute my computer. It doesn't generally work because, in general, you have like multiple people talking. But in this case, it was just Brundle and me, so I just muted my computer when he was talking because we were trying to talk at the same time. But no, I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't like. It's not a tactic. It wouldn't work on Luke Ford. I would instantly get kicked out if I was doing that all the time because like Luke Ford hates interruptions and wants you to especially if like he's talking or Kevin Michael Grace is talking, you have to be able to get out of the way.
Interesting.
But it made Brundle super mad. It made Brundle super mad, and I was looking to make Brundle mad.
I bet it did.
Was
I bet it
really,
did.
really fucking.
Yeah.
That guy is really, he's talked vocally about how mad I make him, but he also makes me extremely full of rage. After all this time.
Yeah, you don't make me mad, Kyle. Like Duvet doesn't make me mad. Mike doesn't make me mad. Like God forbid, even Jennifer doesn't make me mad.
A lot of it was personal, like the fact that I was coming on Luke's stream, which he saw as kind of his territory. He's like said this expressly, and that my views kind of interfere maybe with his relationship with Luke. So that was like I think largely what made it personal, and then it goes from there.
Well, because
Yeah.
Luke Ford is stake horsing and basically rigging debates in your favor.
Ha.
So it obviously makes.
Oh God, here.
it makes other people
It's
who
all
appear
rigged.
on
All the
Luke
races are
Ford-
rigged, bro.
Well, Luke Ford can do whatever he wants with his stream, but to most people, it's pretty clear that whatever reason Luke Ford is promoting you, and even I'll call it rigging debates in your favor, stake horsing you, and that probably causes people to be upset at you. And it's it's natural. It's just like, why the hell is this guy being promoted and hooked up over me? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Ford made
Believe
this
it or not, it's 100% Luke's appreciation for my arguments.
Yeah, I don't think anyone buys that, but I mean, it's remotely possible. But I think that's probably the reason for the hatred. And it's just like, what the fuck? They made this punk.
When did Luke rig a debate? What the hell is kind of framing is that?
Dude, Luke rigs the
What do you
debates
mean
all the
rig? What do
time.
you mean? We'll define rig. I mean, what do you mean rig?
Well, he'll for example, like this is from my own personal experience. He'll let me on stream, and then he'll let me talk for about 10 minutes, and he says, "Oh, well, that was great. You had your 15 minutes of fame, and now you got to go." It's just like, wait a
Well,
second.
it's not
we
your
were
show.
just-
I mean, he's entitled to let you on for however long. He
Yeah,
wants.
but I mean,
OV,
like
OV.
if I'm only allowed to come on for
Yeah,
15
we're talking
minutes.
about debates. You're
Wait,
saying,
wait.
Like, okay,
Yeah,
OV's
this
Yeah, you
was
said
not-
debates. I mean, you're.
Kyle for like 10 minutes, and then he's like, "Nice having you on, OV," and then like he bounces you
But
off.
that was
and then
like
afterwards-
Ovi was brought on to tell his story, and this was in the Luke Ford era where
No,
Ovi,
but I've been
where
on. I've
he
been
was
on
very
Luke
leery
Ford's-
of having
I've
Ovi
been on
on.
Luke's stream
Yeah, yeah.
before that.
But
That's
exactly.
not the only time that I've been
and
on
those
Luke's stream.
times, you got a lot more leeway. But Luke Ford has been more
No.
leery about
Every
sort of thing.
time that I've been on Luke's stream, it's always been like, oh yeah, you can say like your 5 minutes apiece, and
Oh, okay.
then no, you got to go. We
Well-
don't really want to have a real conversation with
and
a
then
Nazi.
Kyle like moralize about you for like 20 minutes after you're
Well, yeah.
gone.
I mean,
Yeah.
that
If rigging
that's
is
in the
too
context
overpowered,
of-
certainly Luke is stake horsing and promoting Kyle.
No,
I
that's-
mean, at this point,
that's
like
like a
Kyle,
weird call to make.
I think Kyle, you're much more authentic than Luke is, to be honest. Like, I mean, I've been on your stream for like the past couple hours now, and we've had a back and forth. There's
Yeah.
been other people coming on. Like, it's been
the only
it's been
time
a
I'll
fucking good
censor
time.
is for invective, or I'm not going to censor someone for arguments, and but I will censor for invective and for imagery that violates or violates terms of service and my sensibilities. But I'm not going to censor for arguments and a calm rational discussion. I don't think that that's appropriate.
And I think
Well, Kyle, you're
that's
not going to admit the point that, I mean, and I'm not saying that there's any punitive punishment, but to say Luke Ford is promoting you, if you want to take it hyperbolic, what it calls rigging debates in your favor, and that causes other people to have a larger negative reaction towards you because
Does
there's
he not? Well, hold on. I mean, does he not have other people on or something? I mean, like, is he deliberately preventing other people from joining?
Luke Ford is not required to be fair, but if you're looking, I want a fair intellectual debate of these ideas, you don't get that from Luke Ford. Luke Ford is stake horsing and promoting Kyle. And
I don't believe
that's
that
his
at
way
all.
to do
I
it.
think that what you're seeing is the
no,
fact
wait,
that people
we're
have
not,
limited
we're not
bandwidth.
we're not talking shit about you, Kyle. Like,
I'm not-
what
yeah, I don't
David
think
is saying.
negative. Like we had season tickets at the stadium, and like when I was a kid, I sat front row at boxing matches, and it's a common strategy. Saying like get the guy like 8-0 record by like rigging or having him fight.
Yeah, but I don't think that Luke Ford rigged things in my favor at all. In fact, Luke Ford, in many ways, made it more difficult for me to discuss things because there was this rule about interrupting, and there's this sequence of interleaving guests, which I like had to push in order to actually make my points. So no, I don't think that the debates were rigged at all. I think that actually, in many ways, my efficacy was dampened by just the practices of the Luke Ford stream, which he's welcome to.
I would agree with that.
He is.
But I mean, that's not the point. That Luke Ford is still stake horsing and promoting you. And
He's
largely
promoting me
rigging
for
in
sure.
your favor.
That he did for
You
sure. He was
certainly
for sure
feel like
promoting
Luke
me
Ford could be better than me.
and praising me.
Like,
So
Luke Ford could
that's what he
do
was doing.
things that more in my favor that would make it even better for me. But
I don't think
I think it's pretty undeniable that he's stake horsing you.
I don't think that he was promoting me for sure. He was praising me for sure. Was he making it easier for me to have these discussions? Absolutely not. In fact, he would sometimes intervene against me. I think that he was at a certain point saying it would be unfair.
That's a natural cause of hatred. The fact that Luke Ford, if you just want to use the word promoting, you don't want to say rigging debates or stake horsing, that's too much for you to go that far. But just promoting you, that's enough to cause like these guys like No Apology, Brundle, Matvey, and like what the fuck? Luke Ford's not promoting me.
For sure. Yeah.
And
But wait. Brundle and Matvey were allowed on the stream, right? And until Brundle started to get like spicy enough that he was risking the stream. And Matvey was always allowed on the stream, I believe. I don't believe that there was ever a time until he finally like started insulting Luke directly. I don't believe that there was ever a time where Matvey couldn't come on.
Let me put it. Wait. Hold on.
Let OV talk.
Dude, if I can. Dude, hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, David. Hold on.
Let's let OV talk here.
Promotion and music promotion, and this is just a common thing. Luke is in Hollywood, and it's like if you have 5-10 bands or actors that you have, and you give your best hookups to one guy, that causes the other people to have resentment towards that one person. And it's pretty clear that like whatever reason Luke Ward chose you, and that's causing resentment of the other people that didn't get what they feel was the hookups that you're getting.
Yeah, but Matvey could come on at any time. Brundle could come on at any time. They were not prevented from coming on like until very late in the game. Go ahead, Ovi.
Yeah, I think, Duvid, you're actually kind of not making the right argument, right? Where let's put this another way. And this is not like a slight against you, Kyle, when I say this, but I mean, can you think of a better Jew for Luke to have on his stream than you?
Well, in terms of advancing my specific perspective, or even more broadly Luke's perspective on the dissident right and stuff like that, well, no, I can't.
Right. I mean, and so that's exactly the point, right? Is that you say everything that Luke wants to be said, everything that Luke believes, everything that that makes Luke, because obviously Luke is Goyim, right? Luke
well,
is
we
not
disagree on
a real
a
Jew.
lot of points. We disagree on a lot of points, but I think that what you're seeing is conclusions. Well, you're kind of okay. A lot of what drew me to Luke was the fact that he was saying things that resonated with me, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like there's a scheme here to big up someone. I just came on his stream. And he wanted me on again. This applies
I'm
to
not
tons
saying
of
that
people.
you're scheming. I'm saying that Luke is scheming, is what I'm saying.
Well, he invites so many people on, and I'm the one who keeps accepting the invite, right? It's not that,
Well,
that
but
he doesn't
you-
invite
Invite to
people on.
everybody. Like,
Yeah, he
Yeah.
gives
Every
invites to a lot of people, but you're the only one that really you and KMG are the only ones that really
Well, we keep
have
accepting,
the
and-
long lasting
Yeah, how is
invite.
that
And the reason is,
Are
you want to know.
rejecting that Luke gives you preferential treatment?
Yeah, but one thing that people have to understand is that you have to be able to
You are
deal
rejecting-
with.
You're saying it's not accurate that Luke gives you preferential
Yeah,
treatment.
it's not accurate. What's special about me is not that Luke prefers me so much. What is that I accept the invite. I'll wait my turn to talk. This involves a lot of waiting and more waiting over time, right? So most people, they accept the invite, they wait around for a while, they talk maybe a few times, and then they don't come back or they don't come back very often, right? Because it's kind of a hard thing to be ready to talk at all times, but not talking for sometimes 45 minutes. People don't like that, and so I'm the one who keeps accepting the invite and keeps coming back.
yeah, honestly, that format is making the show less appealing to me. The fact that he just has a single person talking, and it's not even him. Like, it's his show, but it's not him talking, for like 45 minutes straight.
Right, and it's not like I can interject at any time that I want, and it's like I have a free hand to interject, and no one has a free hand to interject. That's why there aren't that many people who keep coming back. I'm the person who keeps coming back and both and participating long term in the streams. Right, that's me and KMG really. Like it's not like there's people can come on when they want. They're not prevented from coming on, and they can say their piece. But then they'll have to take their turn. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go
I
on.
just wanted to jump in because I knew David was getting ready to go off on another monologue there. But don't you think in a lot of ways Brundle kind of did this? Because
Oh, here we go. Here it comes.
Kyle said himself that he saw the way Brundle ran me off the show, and he made the decision that wasn't going to happen to him. So obviously it had some bearing on his behavior. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
this is not a conspiracy theory. This is a quote from a person who's sitting right here who can correct me anytime. So I
Yeah.
really think in a lot of ways, Brundle, Kyle dug his heels in. Brundle is also the type to dig his heels in, and I think that is largely what led Luke to do the things that were later perceived as favoritism, frankly.
Right, and it should be remembered that there was a long period where Brundle got chance after chance after chance. When a major donator was feuding with Brundle in the chat, Luke banned the major donator, not Brundle. I was constantly being reined in, right? While Brundle was doing the most ridiculous of things in my mind, I was actually being reined in. I don't want to exaggerate that, but that was happening. It's not the case that Luke was always being like, get him, Kyle, get him, Kyle. That was not the attitude that I got from Luke.
So yeah, and obviously this is a little bit of a complicated conversation because Luke is a Orthodox convert, but he still is Goyim. But when you say that you and Luke disagree on things, what would you say that you and him disagree on?
I think that he is more socially conservative than me. I am more optimistic about tech and the future. I am more obviously I'm secular. He's religious. That's a big disagreement, and that comes with all sorts of disagreements about like the best way to live a life. Then there's things like in terms of the IQ question, like he regards it as being of more importance than me. He also he's heterodox in the direction that I'm in, but to a larger extent. For instance, he believes that life expectancy did not increase due to advances in medicine over the past several decades. I believe like a much weaker version of that. I believe that you don't see an increase in life expectancy as a result of increased health spending, or at least a very small increase in life expectancy, particularly when talking about A/B testing, where you give some people insurance and don't give the other people insurance, and they're from the same randomized group. You don't see a significant difference in life expectancy, but that does not translate to medicine is not efficacious. I think that he's more of an IQ fundamentalist than me, and he's more of a skeptic about certain things like medicine and education than in some ways that I would be. Like he's a skeptic in the same direction as me, just to a greater extent.
I mean.
Oh, and I'll add that I think that conversation should be fluid, not disrespectful, but fluid. And I don't believe that interrupting like I just did is necessarily rude. But he is extremely anti-interruption, and he will castigate you like extremely hard for interrupting, even in a way that I don't consider impolite. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean that's a fair answer. I think I see where you're coming from with that answer, and I don't disagree with it. And I think what you say, actually, I would agree with you when you say that. If you give people healthcare, I mean, their lifespan will be on average longer. I mean, that to me is just basic common sense.
Right,
so
and to be clear, I'm talking about what I'm saying does not increase lifespan empirically is say giving people the quote unquote extras. So if there is a crucial base level of care that you get in the first world, which is extremely expensive, but you don't necessarily pay for it. These are just separate things. But yeah, like that is really really important, super duper important. But the extras that you get in terms of having an easier time getting to the doctor when you have insurance, that doesn't seem to have much of an effect. Maybe because that extra going to the doctor over and above the absolute necessary doesn't really have much of an effect. And even could have like sometimes a negative effect. Like that's happened to my mother where she's gone for things, and it's this kind of like that I don't know if you've seen that South African condom which has spikes pointing inward, and it's like you can get in, and then sometimes you get the wrong person and it's hard to get out, right? Sometimes someone is really cautious and is like, actually we need to look into this more. And then that's bounced to someone who is also cautious and is also like, yeah, we need to look into this more. And before you know it, you're in like a situation for a very innocuous thing, which is actually kind of both extremely stressful and maybe harmful for your health. I've seen that in person. So yeah, that can happen. Yeah,
that's a fair point. I don't really see that I'm in disagreement with that.
Aaron says Olaf refuses to talk to Jews now. That's Melchizedek. What can you do? Kyle, Luke has radicalized Melchizedek very thoroughly. It's over for him. It's over for Melchizedek cells. That's it.
Are we going to get Aaron on stream, or maybe even Kanak on stream?
Like historically, when I was first on Luke's stream, like he was hitting me with these like Hitler jokes, and everyone was laughing. And then I said something. It was like beyond the pale. Like I said, like critique of Luke's show, and Luke would say Luke was very hardcore. Like he was almost pro-Hitler for a few months, and then he had a pretty.
No, he wasn't.
Was he really pro-Hitler?
Luke was.
Don't exaggerate.
Duvid, like the way that you criticize people like cuts really deep, or at least it feels like you're trying to cut deep in terms of how deep you want your criticism to go and how fundamental you want it to be, and so that's what people like object to. I think it's not that you're obscene; it's that you don't perceive these boundaries in terms of people's self-regard. Right now, in my case, I don't really mind it. I find it interesting and new, but Luke will mind it. Right, Luke is obviously the kind of personality who will mind that a lot.
Luke gets me on the show with the telling me that he wants to talk about Torah, and then for like 2 weeks straight, all he wants to talk about is Hitler. And then he brings Churchill on, and he's basically saying like the arguments. Well, doesn't it make sense that like Hitler wanted to kill you guys, and the Holocaust happened, and you guys deserved it? And
I think you don't understand Luke.
I can answer that question, dude.
And I mean, I say it's beyond the pale. I was like, like Luke, I don't think your show has potential to making money. Like Luke, clever, and then like Luke having these guys telling me that like God forbid my family deserves to die in the Holocaust, so they shouldn't have been anyways. But like,
but Duvit, you're missing the.
Let's let Ovi speak, and then Levi. Ovi.
Yeah, so Duvid, you're actually missing the point. I mean, I can name you conservative rabbis who say that, like, oh yeah, I mean, Hitler was totally right to purge the Jews because these were these liberal Jews, which Duvid would count himself amongst. These are the liberal Jews that were promoting homosexuality, promoting all of the the liberal shit that corrupts societies, and yeah, Hitler was right. And these are conservative rabbis, Orthodox rabbis that are saying.
Rabbis.
Let's let Levi speak now. Levi wanted to say something.
No, I basically made my point. Just
okay, cool. Duvid?
Yeah, I mean, we discussed that at length, but I'm saying Luke definitely took a turn where he was basically promoting the alt-right, promoting these ideas.
Not really. Well, maybe from a certain point of view, but the problem is, Duvid, is that I think it was more like an opportunist kind of thing that Luke was doing, where Luke saw an opportunity where he's getting viewers from the alt-right, he's getting viewers from the neo-Nazis, so-called, whatever, and he saw that as a way to, if it was a choice between the
I agree with you. I mean, the period when I was on the show, I would 25% of his audience were probably pro-Hitler, and Luke played to those people. It's like
right. But if I could just jump in, I think that you have to understand Luke is exploring these dark subjects because he believes that this is the way to understand how you can avoid that in the future. This is the way to understand like the forces behind history and human nature and all that sort of thing. He's not saying he's trying to.
I appreciate Luke, but saying like I still have the messages. Like I know what happened, and like we were supposed to have a Talmud show. We were going to do Perky Elbows, and then like every single time it's like let's talk about Hitler.
Yeah. So Luke will have his passions, right? Luke will go into his passions, and I don't think that that's a sign that he's sympathetic. Well, it's not a sign that he's sympathetic. It's a sign that he's interested in these subjects. Like much as with pornography, it's not that he loved pornographers and he said as much himself. It's just that he finds fascination with these dark subjects.
Yeah,
that's actually an interesting argument.
Trying to do it. But then Luke was kind of like a pussy. So like I'm hitting back on him. It's like Luke, you're.
You're just incredibly abrasive. Like you say insulting.
I'm incredibly abrasive because Luke brings
everybody, not just
show, claiming he wants to talk about Torah and do a show on Perky Elbows.
Aggressive remarks.
Out he wants to talk about Hitler every night, and then I push back a little bit. He's like, I have never been treated like that in my life. And it's like, what the fuck? The guy who wants me to talk about Hitler every night is now accusing me of having bad manners.
Well, yeah, you can still have bad manners. That doesn't stop you from having bad manners.
Yeah.
And then okay, whatever. If whatever interpretation Luke stands in judgment before Hashem on his own. He took a turn, and he went KMG, and then he went Kyle. But there was definitely a period of a month or two where it was alt-right. It was the alt-right tonight, and the most common topic of conversation was Hitler.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. He's always had an interest in, or at least as long as I've known him, he's had an interest in World War II and in the Third Reich and all that stuff. I mean, I'm interested in it. It's not about worshiping it. It's about one of the formative forces behind the modern world.
The show, he said he likes Eric Stryker and Mike Enoch, but like Duvid, like just as a person, I don't like him. I don't know what episode that is, but he's like yeah, I like Mike Enoch and Eric Stryker. Whatever, he might have minor disagreements, but like Duvid as a person, I just don't like this guy.
Well,
no.
Here's the thing, David. Who is more in line with what Luke Ford wants? Is it the white nationalists who want to deport all the Jews, or is it David who wants to have this globo homo system? Who is more in line with what Luke Ford wants?
I'm not sure. I mean, because it's unclear what Luke Ford wants. You could interpret.
I don't think it's that really unclear, to be honest.
Well, at this point, because it's ironic. So, like, I'm not friends with Luke Ford, and Eric Stryker and Mike Enoch are not friends with Luke Ford.
You're only friends with me, David. How does that feel?
Luke Ford was basically.
He's friends with Jen, isn't he?
Eric Stryker. I do not want to be friends with David.
Yeah.
And now I don't think now he's kind of pushed back where he's like, oh, these Mike Enoch and Eric Stryker, they're not such good guys after all.
Right.
Yeah,
but...
I like David.
Go ahead.
I like its harshness. Most people maybe don't, but it's something I respect in an intellectual. So yeah.
Well, it's interesting to watch, but it's annoying.
I like David too. Yeah.
I like it. I like that.
David, the friend of Nazis.
People who host with David seem to often want to tear their hair out, but I mean,
confrontational status with the blue-eyed man was more successful than like the Jewish alt-right kiss ass please be friends with me, blue-eyed man. Please be friends with me. You blue-eyed men are more messed up than Negroes.
I have to say, this was one of the most confusing things to me about the stream was this blue-eyed man meme that kept coming up.
The Negro to the blue-eyed man it in essence worked out better.
I found it so bizarre. Like, why are people talking about blue eyes? What the hell is going on with this chat?
Blue eyes are the superior race, Kyle. Come on.
Blonde hair, blue eyes. But this was just the obsession with blue eyes, and I was like, what? And it was like in a pejorative sense. It's like, you must be one of those blue-eyed people. What's going on? All right, folks, I do have to wrap up the show within the next 10 minutes or so, but I want to give people the opportunity to give final words. So let's start with OV. Do you have anything else you'd want to say to me or to the stream?
We have a great and loving uncle. And I think that we should all understand and respect what our great and loving Uncle A told us, and praise him. Peace be upon him, and hail our Uncle A.
Charming. Jen, anything you want to add?
Thanks for having me on, Kyle. Just wanted
Glad to have
quick question for OV. What percentage German are you by blood, bro?
1/8.
Oh,
God, he has less German in him than me.
Yeah, apparently, yeah. But it's all right because I'm mostly Italian. I'm mostly Roman, which is where the Germans got all their ideas. So it doesn't even matter. I'm the OG German, you could say.
Ooh, the crucial question, Ov, is it South Italian or North Italian?
Well, I can tell you that I'm blonde hair and blue-eyed, but I'm Central Italian, to be honest. Well, my father's family is Slovenian, which is basically Northern Italian, and my mother's family is Central Italian.
All right, Mike, anything you want to say? Final words?
Yeah, I guess your show is good, and yeah, I didn't really get to finish earlier because so many people trying to talk, but
yeah, I wanted to hear Mike speak some more, to be honest. I mean, he is my co-host and everything, So
yeah, we haven't done a show in a while, but no, I think like your debates are good, debating of ideas. People like to see that. You get a lot of hate watchers too, which I think you should embellish that.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I guess there's certain ideas that are definitely real that you might disagree with, like maybe Ecke's term of replacement or white genocide, or you might disagree with those terms and maybe you think they're ridiculous. But I think it's real to a lot of people, so it's definitely worthwhile to discuss those ideas that you might disagree with, but your opponents that really get really triggered at you, it's important to them, So hopefully you're able to have more of those. Like on Babscast seems to be like the battle zone. So
right, the nuclear wasteland. I hope Babs can come on and give his final word. Duvid, anything you want to say?
I was just going to finish up real quick. Yeah, I mean, I think it's good that you don't always want to talk about the JQ. You want to talk about good ideas on your own show, but it's always good to go battle over there. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Duvid?
Yeah, good luck to you streaming, Kyle. Good luck to Luke Ford. I wish Luke Ford the best. I had wanted him to, his original intention of kind of having a Jew cast and talking Torah and, like a pro kind of like sages, and even Babs, those didn't manifest. I haven't been able to find those circles of like people that are just interested in like learning and talking about Judaism. But I still enjoy these conversations every once in a while. And even like, so it's ironic, like OV and sometimes people like him are more receptive to just like listening and hearing about Jewish history and Jewish ideas than actual Jews.
It's a heartwarming service that OV provides.
Well, yeah, I mean, my desire in streaming remains unfulfilled, but it doesn't mean that like Luke Ford's free to take his show in any direction that he wants, and I wish him success. And same with you, and thanks for hosting these conversations. Blessing. Have a happy Yom Kippur. If you don't, whether you fast or not, you should be sealed into the book of life for another year of peace and prosperity, and happy, healthy year.
God bless.
I just real quick, Duvid. I think if your payos were a little bit more tailored, a little bit more kempt, maybe Luke would let you on stream a little bit more. Is all I'm saying.
And final words, CERN, if you're still here, if he hasn't gone AFK. CERN, do you have any final words to say?
I just want to put it on the record that I have basically 0% Jew in me.
There we go. The record is clarified. All right, and with that, I have to say goodnight, regrettably.
Wait, what about Levy?
No,
Oh,
pretty
did I
much.
forget Levy?
Yeah, good stream, good show.
Oh, great.
Keep up the work.
Excellent. And thank you for coming on, everyone. Good night.
Oh, wait. Before we leave, where's the after party at?
I think that this is the after party, I'm afraid. And with this,
It's
we
a
fall
Monday,
into darkness.
dude.
Here
All right,
and just here we go.
Mike,
Yo,
dude.
All right, we're live.
Mike, we don't get enough time to talk to each other off stream and stuff like that.
yeah,
you know?
I've been busy. Like, when I hang out with my girlfriend, I can't do anything, you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the appropriate answer. I mean, yeah, so I can't blame you for that. You know.
I was gonna tell you, I went to the.
You know what's going to be
It's actually.
funny is when
Huh?
OV finally gets a girlfriend.
Well,
It'll be
yeah,
funny when OV finally gets a girlfriend.
it'll be the first one, don't you know?
Not the Nazi stress.
Yeah.
I went to the Texas State Fair, and they have like all this, Art Deco style buildings, like from the 30s.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like futuristic. I mean, obviously it's old, but I'm sure back then it looked super futuristic.
Mhm.
But they had all these images of men, like Art Deco men and women, and it definitely looked like Nazi imagery. I took a picture of one of them.
Oh God, I'm getting hard on right now. Yeah.
But I could picture, like, I was like, oh shit, it looks like something somebody would complain about as being like white supremacist, you know? Because it definitely looked like you could have decorated the 1936 Olympics with it. You know?
Well, I mean, that's the thing is that, people love to talk shit about white people, but it's just like, all the great architecture, all the great philosophy, all the great this or that, it's all, white people did that, if only Jews.
Do you think that maybe actually mastering things like philosophy and science would go a lot farther than just saying that white people are better at them?
Well, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Jen, and to a certain extent, I agree. Like, when I was growing up, I was totally into Buddhism. I was totally into, psychedelics, taking
Yeah, I know you
acid
told
and
us on
mushrooms.
the Blue Circuit channel.
Yeah. Yeah, like,
Told
so
us
I
about your
understand
tattoo.
where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, like, okay, so let's say that the Indians, came up with Buddhism, or whoever came up with Buddhism, the Chinese or the Indians or whatever.
It was Gautama Buddha. He was a Brahmin. It's well known. He was
Right?
an Indian.
Okay, yeah. So what? So what? I mean,
Well,
at
the
the end of
fact
the
is,
day,
he wasn't white. That's the point.
no. Well, it's not just that. It's just that, like, let's say that Indians are responsible for all of the greatest philosophy in the world, all of it. But I mean, did they build the arch? Did they create republicanism? Did they create, the governments? Did they build Rome? Did they
Yes.
build
Well,
Greece?
they didn't build Rome, but Pythagoras was educated in India, and yeah, their architecture is more advanced by far. Haven't you seen it?
Well, I
And I
know.
mean,
I'm still
let's not
skeptical.
even
Still
let's not
skeptical.
even talk about the Indians. What about the Chinese? They came up with some pretty impressive things.
True, and yet the Chinese were still taken over through colonialism by
Oh,
the
well,
by
I
the
mean,
Europeans.
oh, well, that's neither really here or there. It's about substantiating your statement, and frankly, when you can't, i.e., you don't actually know any philosophy or art or science.
No, but no, you're
across
missing the
the
point.
fact-
You're missing the point is that philosophy is not the be all end all.
Okay, well, either science or philosophy is, or religion. Do you agree on that? It's one of those three, or all three, maybe?
No,
Okay.
no, because
There's
okay,
something-
so well, here you go. I mean, for example, like the Chinese invented gunpowder, right?
I highly
it was-
doubt that. I bet it was the Indians. It's another one of those fantasies.
Well, whatever. But the point is that it wasn't the Chinese or the Indians that turned gunpowder into a feasible, tool, a geopolitical tool.
So Indians invented gunpowder, but didn't use it. Is that it?
They didn't use it correctly.
What's that? To team up with Jews to fuck over the Indians?
Wait, so okay,
Which is
well,
what you guys
here, well, I mean, yes, exactly. Well, I mean, it's not about teaming up against anyone. It's about
You did team up with the Jews. That's the history of Europe. is
oh
Europeans
god,
teaming
here
up
we
with
go.
Jews.
Now you're making a Davidian argument. I mean, is that
It's not a Davidian argument.
yes?
Well, fuck, maybe it is. I don't
was
even know.
just talking with David about this the other day. David said that Crassus and Caesar, the only reason that Crassus and Caesar became so rich is because they had Jewish bankers.
And you doubt this.
Yes, yes, very much so. I doubt this.
Okay, well, I guess we're just looking at it differently. This is why I don't really like these historical digressions, because I find people kind of have ideological hangups. And
No, you
it's hard to see
love these historical digressions because you say, yeah,
Well,
it
in a
gives
way,
you a
because
chance
they can bond
to advocate for the anti-Aryan invasion theory.
I wouldn't have done that if people weren't making absurd claims about European history.
By the way,
Okay,
Babs, are we live right now? I don't have the stream open.
I think he's
We are live.
I think he's
I think.
working on it. Eke has a stream with like 35 people right now.
Dude, we should get the link to Babs' stream. To be honest,
Yeah, well, I don't know if he started it yet.
no, it's live right now. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Babs streams is the most popular, I think, because it's the most free flowing. You know, like
Well, actually, Claire's is like Babs and Claire's are the biggest ones right now, and it's funny, isn't it? How big Claire got?
oh yeah,
Oh my god!
yours is full of fucking freaks. Jesus Christ.
You've been around for a while, Mike. From what I remember, you started following Claire pretty much maybe when I did. I don't know. Maybe you were even there before.
I came across Luke Ford like almost a year ago.
Okay, so you and I must have joined at the pretty much same time.
I guess, yeah. I didn't go and look forward to that much, like a little bit. It's a tough stream to go on, right? Because you have to be, real versatile. Even like when OV went, I didn't see all OV's appearances, but I think some of them weren't for that long. But you have to be, like a KMG or Kyle to do a whole show. It's kind of exhausting.
I think OV went on once for like an actual interview. Is that right? I can't. I know you've been on the show
interview where?
On Luke's.
I've been on Luke's stream a couple times.
But was it ever for an actual like Q&A, or was it for subject matter expertise?
No, I mean this is something that Duvid brought up, and something that I actually agree with Duvid on is that Luke is more than happy to have quote unquote subversives on, as long as he can channel the conversation in a direction that makes these quote unquote subversives look like idiots.
He's not. Oh, I suppose he's.
Yeah, he just
has to work.
Tries to make it
Continue
entertaining.
to work.
I know. I don't think so. To be honest, I think that I think Luke is kind of a tryhard. To be honest,
or uses people for their entertainment value. I don't know.
No. Luke wants to make money. He wants the super chats. He wants to have like a stream. And not only does he want the super chats, but he also, Luke is a fucking goyim, but Luke is also a Jewish convert. So he wants. All right, we got the link. We got the link to Eke stream. Do you guys see that in the?
Yeah.
All right. Let's migrate over to Eke stream.
It's full of people though.
I'm not gonna join you guys, but you guys have fun. I'll see you soon.
All right. Have fun, loser in the debate, Jen. Yeah.
I don't know if I'm welcome.
Jen, you don't want to come say hi to Ishi Lux? I think he would love that.
He really and I have never honestly gotten along, Babs, and I.
Are you sure?
When
did that happen?
He banned me off his chat. He's,
I think you should come and spread the good word of the Church of Entropy.
Yeah, here's your chance. Here's your chance to strike back.
Proselytize.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I'm not that type of person.
Yeah. Jenny has already lost. Jenny has already lost one debate. Now she doesn't want to lose another debate. That's what it is.
I don't think it was an actual debate, and there's no way I'd lose anything to that game.
Is Butterfly doing anything these days, or is he?
He was on Twitter the other day.
Yeah, Butterfly shows up, here and there, but not anything like a standard schedule or anything.
Yeah, I gotcha. He always makes a scene one way or another.
So Jenny, you're not gonna come on an Eke stream and evangelize.
I think this would be a great chance for reconciliation.
Yeah. Why not?
That's very sweet, guys.
Come on, Jenny.
When did the
Jenny.
conflict begin? The conflict.
There was no actual beginning to it. It just was. He banned me off his chat for some bullshit, and I don't like that.
He can't ban you from the stream, though. I mean, if you're
in the
hangout,
you come in there, hold him hostage.
Yeah, but the truth is, I'm not
scream in his ear.
I'm not in the habit of going places where I'm not wanted because I don't. I'm not.
I want you there, Jenny. I want you there.
I'm very appreciative that you do. I just.
I'll take you there, Jenny.
Hold my hand and I'll take you there someday.
Yeah, I was trolling Norman one night. I kept trying to log in under different names, like Jeffrey Epstein, and I tried OV once. It was pretty funny. He just kept saying like, "What the fuck?" OV's trying to get on the show. There's like, well, maybe it's Heinrich just trolling.
Heinrich hates me too.
Yeah, everyone hates each other. Dude, you get along with Jews better than you do the fucking Nazi Wignats, I think.
I know.
Well, it was that
Sieg
whole.
Heil, right? Sieg Heil.
It was that whole fucking scene.
Yeah. Dude, I'm over it, dude. I'm over this whole kind of like internet, streaming, like who has the most viewers. It's like, dude, like I just want to have fucking, have good conversations,
It's just like arguing for the sake of arguing.
Yeah. Yeah, because, we all know that the Wignats are going to take control of the government in the next few years. Just like Gandalf. Just like Gandalf is going to take control in the next few years,
And fighting for the sake of fighting,
Yeah, it's fucking retarded shit.
Yeah, are you going to go over to that stream or...
Yeah, I've got it typed into the URL right now. I'm just waiting for Jenny to say that she's going to go too. I'm waiting for Jenny.
I don't think she's going.
Honestly, all those people really don't like me, and I'm just not in the habit of going around people.
Eke is very mild. Eke is very mild and tame. Come on.
Okay, well, why'd he ban me off his chat then?
Well, because you're kind of a bitch sometimes.
All right, well, maybe I think he's a bitch now.
Come on, all right. I mean, are you gonna really be that like, oh god, well, Eke was a bitch to me, so I have to be a bitch back to Eke. I mean, come on, oy vey. Come on, Jenny.
Is it okay if I just don't want to?
What if Culture Bear is in the chat? I mean, would that make a difference?
No. Honestly, I just don't want to be around people that hate me.
I'll tell that. I'll be sure to tell that to Culture Bear. It doesn't matter if you're in the chat, Culture Bear. Jenny just doesn't want to be on stream. All right. That's fine. Go sulk in your corner. Go sulk in your corner, Jenny.
All right, see you guys later.
Yeah, Mike, are you going on stream?
I don't know if I'm going to go on stream, but I'll go in the chat or whatever.
All right, fair enough.
All right.
See you all, everyone.
Later.
A stronger woman, a well trained into the witchcraft of a stronger woman. But that leads to a completely broken life. The woman detests the man. The man is on his knees. He has the yoke of slavery of this woman. Don't you think this is a problem?
Are you going to be weak or are you going to be strong? What is it going to be?
Yeah, bring them up.
Are you going to let some woman walk over you, Quantrell, or are you going to put your fucking foot down?
Well, I'm not going to let a woman tell me to be strong or weak or whatever it is. I'm just observing the fact that it appears that a woman likes the strong whip hand of a black man like me. The pimp hand.
Yeah.
But more and more, this is unacceptable dialogue that we're having right now. Even what I'm saying, I'm not even acting on these thoughts that I'm having. Even the things that I'm saying will be verboten.
I don't know, Quantrell. I don't really know what your problem is. I mean, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to figure out what your whole issue is here, because the way you're talking makes it seem like you're just you're like the beta male sitting at the corner in like the party room or something.
Do I sound like the beta male?
I mean, you're complaining about women, like You don't complain about women. Just
Wait.
take and own it.
Wait a second. Are you saying that there's no reason to complain about women?
No, there's tons of reasons to complain about women, but I don't think you should just let it get you down, like, oh, the women are oppressing me type thing. I mean, obviously society's done some bad things with women and men in general, but I don't think it should be this drab. But Quantrell seems to have a problem. Maybe it's just not as bad as I think.
To be honest, I've only been here for about 2 minutes or so I haven't heard the whole conversation. But I mean, you know, we. Sorry, Ake. No, it wasn't a wrench war. It was just someone was being a faggot in chat. That's all. Faggot with 3 G's. So. Jesus Christ, got a rice rocket in the background. So Ash, I mean, you are very aware that you know, women are pretty much have the upper hand in society today. Would you disagree with that?
No, I 100% agree that they do, and I think it's a huge problem.
Right. I mean, if without hearing the whole conversation, I would assume that's kind of the direction. Sorry, what is your name? Quantrell?
It's Quantrell.
Yeah. You're not a Negro, are you?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
He is a Negro? Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm agreeing with a Negro right now. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Play nice,
I mean,
play nice. Play nice.
God forbid, Quantrell is actually correct in what he's saying right now. Assuming I'm on the same page.
We're on the same page, brother.
All of us Africans are on the same page.
Let's gang up on the woman.
No.
Put her in her place.
No.
I got my African shirt on. I gotta go find my spear and shield, and we can start the march.
So, do you see the point that I'm making, though, Ash?
No, I definitely see your point. I'm just because Quantrell's in college, so he's surrounded by a bunch of leftist college females, and I don't think that's what the bulk of most women are, to be honest.
From my experience, the women I've come across are not political.
I mean, most women aren't political. I mean, that's kind of a given. But you know, and the real issue is, you know, to kind of like bridge the gap between what Quantrell is saying and Ash is saying. I mean, yeah, there is a difference between the more millennial or Gen X type women versus the, you know, Zoomer type women. Yeah, totally. But I mean, you know, the fact of the matter is that, you know, women's
our
power.
leader is your fellow African. Idi Amin has
Ash
arrived.
is using a typical shaming tactic meant to shame males based on their perceived low sexual value if they shit talk women.
Well, yeah.
You need to fight on behalf of the men.
Oh shit.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What he said.
Idi Amin was the most amazing man I've ever seen. He's the president, the general, the king of the sea. Idi Amin. Our leader has left us.
yeah. Nick left us.
I think that guy was a Jew. I think that guy was a Jew impersonating a black. How
So, but here's the thing. Here's what I've understood from this conversation is that, you know, women, their kind of power level is directly correlated with their sexual value as well, right? So the women today, these millennial Zoomer type women, they're growing up in the sphere of Tinder, of swipe left or whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, all these kinds of things. And that's these kinds of women have much more influence than the even just millennial women. Women in their 30s, early 30s, are not necessarily out of their sexual. I mean, they're on their way out. Is the real problem?
Ooh. Where's my sound go?
Would you? I mean, is that an acceptable point of view, Ash?
No, I don't disagree with you. I think where I would probably disagree with so I've talked to Control before, and it seems to be that he thinks that women do this stuff intentionally, and maybe a lot of them do. I think a lot of women kind of act because of the way society kind of brought them up, to be honest, man. I mean, like, because I was there. I was more of a leftist liberal type, and I mean, it took me a while to realize that that's not the right way. Like, I was all about equality with women and men, and now obviously I know that that's not a good thing. And
Same here. And by the way, I'm
yeah.
33, so yeah, I'm probably in your same age range.
Yeah, I'll be 30 in November.
Children.
Okay, yeah.
Tiny
You
children.
know what's fascinating is it seems like every time the conversation goes back to Ash, she's agreeing with what I'm saying. You just seem to have a problem with my attitude or my perspective on the problems.
Just so we're all on the same page. How old are you, Control?
I'm Gen Z.
So what, like younger than 25 or older than 25?
Younger.
Okay, yeah, that's all right.
Tiny baby.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I understand. I definitely understand your point of view. Definitely.
Do you
Control, I
believe
think I
that
just
no
want you to
matter
take.
what, women will chase Chad, biologically speaking, and preferentialize the Chad over everyone? Sorry, go ahead, Ash.
Control, I think I just here's my issue with you. I just want you to take responsibility. Like, just be the man that you are, basically. Like
just take responsibility, clean your room.
Yeah,
dig
in a
down
way.
to the ocean and go into the belly of the whale and save your father.
Yeah, but I've seen so many men like get through these times and find a wife, I mean, obviously you're 22, so you have plenty of time. I don't know why you're even worried about it to begin with. Like once you get out of college and get a job, and then find a woman.
I'll tell
then.
you why. Because you go to class, you see the sea of these women in their tight asses. They're lifted up in these like leggings, and it fills your soul with a fire to just go around like a harpoon, inserting it into all these,
this
white
is a
whales.
stupid argument.
You need to be paying attention to your studies.
This is not a new argument, Contrail. I mean, this is an argument as old as time. I mean, I don't know what point you're trying to make right now.
Are you?
He's tired of women looking at cores. He wants
do you have a
women
lot
in
of
burqas.
original points of view?
Nope, we stole everything from the Greeks.
Hey man, I basically am Greek. I'm Roman, so you either stole it from the Greeks or you stole it from the Romans, and so one or the other.
Well, Naples is Greek, in the very southern part of the peninsula.
Yeah, so Control, man, like I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what point you're trying to make.
Argument.
Control
doesn't like yes, we know. Yes, we know. You have a big dick and you want to stick it in places. Yeah, like who doesn't? I mean, I just don't understand what kind of argument you're actually trying to make.
Are women?
I was pointing out the frustration that I experience. I wasn't trying to make some
Yeah, I'm
statement
sorry.
that's
I'm sorry.
gonna revolutionize the world.
The Zoomers are not the first generation to have this problem.
Okay.
The Zoomers are not the first to have this problem. I'm sorry.
Well, we were just having a fine little discussion, but
I'm
I
sorry
guess
to
it's been
break up your
settled.
party. I'm sorry to break up your party. You know, I'm not trying to white knight or anything, but like, I don't know what argument you're actually trying to make, because I've heard these arguments ever since I was in fucking high school. You know, and I'm basically twice your age. And I'm sure fucking Otto has heard these arguments, and he's twice my age.
I'm not twice your age. I'm not even 50 yet. I'm still...
you know what I'm saying, though, like, right? You know.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, obviously, they had the in the 80s there were the tight leggings too, with something that's made a comeback after 30 years of remission.
I was just trying to arrange a marriage with me and Ash's sister, but you come in there and cock block me. It's
woman in college.
Sister is married with two
colleges
kids.
are not correct. They do not give due respect to low status males like Andy Nuki in college.
Yeah, Ovi the cock blocker. Jesus Christ, this will be the first time I've ever heard that insult.
Quantrell, my sister is 28 and she's already married with 2 kids.
Wow.
You think that's gonna stop me?
Go for it, dude.
Quantrell, first you gotta let's see what you look like, buddy.
Dude, Contrell is definitely trying to get into the NFL, the National Felons League. It sounds like.
Cool meme, bruh.
No, it's not a meme. It's the fucking truth. It's not a meme.
What actually is your argument, Quantrell? Like, what is it that you want women to stop doing?
Evidently, he wants a woman in class to stop distracting him from his studies. So.
By what? Wearing a low-cut shirt?
Yeah.
By wearing yoga pants?
Yeah, it's causing him to have impure thoughts.
I mean, I get it. I get it when everybody freaks out over my freaking shoulders. Like, what is going on here? But it's like,
you're going to the wrong school. You should have gone to a really far left liberal college where all the women were ugly feminists, and then you wouldn't have any arousal problems in class or on campus.
Dude, it sounds to me like Contrell just wants more women to watch the BBC channel, is what it sounds like. I mean, I'm sorry, not everyone is into watching BBC. And yes, that is... Yes, I am making that illusion, yes.
Melchizedek in the chat says, no, you don't get it, Ash. Woman saying, I get it. No, woman can't get it. You'll never get it.
I see the point. Obviously, I don't get it because I don't have a penis and a male brain, but I see your points.
Women can have penises now, I'm told.
Wait, which point do you see, Ash? I'm sorry. Which point do you see?
I guess I understand. Like if a woman has a low cut shirt and her titties are hanging out, obviously, like what is she expecting men not to look? Like I actually got in an argument with my sister about the whole free the nipple thing, and my sister, to my shock, was like, "Yeah, free the nipple, that's fine." I'm like, "What is wrong with do you not understand what kind of repercussion that's going to have?" Like
the nipple is being oppressed. It needs to be freed.
I mean, that's the problem. This is the problem with liberalism, right? I was just on stream earlier tonight with Kyle Rowland, and he was saying that liberalism
that'll suppress everybody's sex drive. That's good birth control.
Yeah, he was saying liberalism has been so great for society. It's just like, free the nipple has been so great. All of these Negro migrants into Europe, with all of these liberal feminists, free the nipple. Yeah, all of these Africans totally understand what free the nipple means. It's not like an invitation to get raped. All these Africans are just totally on the same page. Free the nipple is all about, what do you want to call it? What's the word? It starts with an E. Oh God, what's the fucking word? Jesus Christ!
Enlightenment?
No. The races being equal.
Equality?
Yeah, No, but there's another word. Oh God,
know.
Chat, help me out here.
I don't know. In Ghana, I did occasionally see naked people walking the streets.
Yeah, but African titties are fucking ugly.
Equity, egalitarianism. Do you need a Jew to come in here and correct you?
Egalitarianism. Thank you.
Yes.
God, it takes a fucking Jew to help me out. Jesus Christ.
Well, you know what? Here's what women don't understand, and like obviously, like I've already said, I don't
Babs
fully
keeps moving in and
comprehend.
out.
Do what?
Babs keeps moving in and out of chat. Like
Yeah, just count on a Jew to make a big game out of it.
He's like Q in Star Trek.
No, but here's the
Pops
thing,
in
like
and out.
women, because women don't understand the male brain, they think that like they can just wear whatever they want and, like not expect like I'll give you myself as a perfect example. Back when I was like a liberal minded blue-pilled normie, I would wear, I don't know, short shorts and maybe a low-cut shirt. And I mean, obviously, I would think in my head, I should be able to wear what I want because, hey, it's a free country and I'm going to wear what I want. But when I would go out, I would get really annoyed at catcalls and stares that I would get because I get them all the time. And so, I mean, it took me a long time to realize, like, you know what, Ashley, you can't, like, you want to go out in society and hope that people aren't going to look at you and catcall you, but that's not how it is. Like, if I go out, somebody's going to catcall me if I'm wearing something skanky, obviously. And I had to kind of get over that in my head. Like, this is just the way it is. Like, men are, if you're going to present yourself like that, men are going to react. And I think women just don't understand this. Like, women have it in their minds, I can wear what I want. And like, it's not right or legal for them to look at me. Don't talk to me. Like that's kind of what you see nowadays. Like you'll have a slut walk in Los Angeles where women are wearing just pasties on their nipples and whatnot, and they're expecting men to just
the guys that don't notice are the ones they're attracted to. Now, if the guy notices it, then they don't like that guy. But if you feign or experience indifference to it, then that makes you attractive to these women. So it's like a test.
Yeah, I ignore women. It's my personal policy.
I wouldn't ignore them. I mean, we're not all bad. We just society's kind of fucked us up, man. I keep saying that, but it seriously has. Like I honestly didn't know any of this stuff at all. Like I thought abortion was okay, and I thought like, oh, gay marriage, who cares? But now like I can see it. And that's the issue is like since we're living in a feminist run society, it's I don't know. I trust me, Contra. I feel you. I just I still think you should just
Don't worry,
hold
it
your
won't last
ground.
long. Women will all be
Yeah.
wearing hijabs in less than 20 years, so that'll be over.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I think that's actually what Contra
You have
would
any
prefer.
nice headscarves? Let me have my friends in Kurdistan send some.
No, I have my hair is very long. Like my hair comes down to like the
Doesn't
small
matter.
of my
You
back.
can put it
So
up.
that's my head covering, like the Bible says.
The
Actually,
headscarf is very, very flexible. We get you a nice red one, like the Mujahideen Al Khalq wear.
No, I can't. That's no.
I'm kind of curious, Ash. I've heard through the grapevine that you're married to an Asian man. Is that correct?
Yes.
So how red pilled is your husband?
I'm working on him. I didn't become fully. I wouldn't say. I guess I don't know. I've always been kind of red pilled since like my teenage years, starting with 9/11 and JFK, kind of the normal stuff. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until I kind of got looped into these circles that I became red pilled on other issues.
Yeah, same here.
I'm
I
100%
my
blue
spiral
husband,
pilled.
down the J hole.
I'm as blue pilled as Quantrill is black.
That's right. Figure that one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's kind of an interesting kind of evolution, I guess you could say, because yeah, like you said, for me, I was pretty keen on 9/11 since like 2004, like since like ninth grade for me,
Mhm.
and but like I never knew about the race issue until maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, um,
Never been
and
mugged?
well, no, I kind of I grew up in a nice family. I grew up in a nice white area, so there was no Negroes, you know. So there was plenty of Mexicans, but like they lived in the neighborhoods away from me. Um, but so I mean, I'm just kind of like to be serious for a second. Like being someone who is red pilled as you are, Ash. Like how how in depth are you able to go into these subjects with your husband?
um, you mean without sounding like I'm crazy? Yeah, it's been kind of hard.
Do you see
Why would
Kylan
you
or
talk
anything?
about uh, any political issue with your spouse? That seems to me to be just
No,
stupid.
we're on the same page. Like he voted Republican, like voted Trump, voted Republican. He's he at least he's aware of what left and right. He understands like I don't know, he's more on like the boomer page, I guess. Like the Democrats are the real racists, but he's also aware somewhat of the JQ. Like
Good.
he does know about it for sure. And I like to say the Asians are very honorary, because you'll never find anybody that's as productive but also like racially aware than
Yeah,
Asians besides
I
like
would agree
white
with that.
people.
Yeah, I
But
would agree
no,
with that. Yeah.
like
That's
my
because
husband,
all Asians who aren't Chinese hate the Chinese.
yeah,
Well, and all Chinese hate everyone else.
That's
So I
true.
mean,
racist.
It's reciprocal.
yeah. By the way, is it too personal to ask like what Asian ethnicity your husband is? Ash?
I'm just going to interrupt here. What I really want to know is how Dr. Pohl, how he, with all these women in their burqas, how do you
no burqas
identify,
in Kurdistan.
Whatever.
That's an Afghan thing.
Bags, whatever. How do you identify an attractive woman? Because I have a girl in my class who wears the bag, and
I've never
her nasal bridge just it really gets me going, And I don't
none
know
of
if
the
she's the
places
one.
I've lived did I see any veils. Except for London. I'll take that back. When I lived in London, I saw lots of veils. But when I lived in places that were majority Muslim, like Kyrgyzstan, I didn't even see very many hijabs in Kyrgyzstan. But Kurdistan, maybe quarter to half the women wear headscarves, but none of them wear the veil. So the face is always visible.
I go to a Catholic school, so you see a lot of girls in these burqas or veils,
What?
and the nasal bridge. There's something so erotic about that. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's not Jewish, is what you're talking about.
They got big noses in the Middle East. I mean, there is a huge industry in Kurdistan and Iran of doing nose jobs. I mean, literally, you see these people with the tape on their nose, particularly women, all the time. They go if they have extra money to get the Persianate nose chiseled down.
I'm sorry. What is the question that you're trying to ask?
I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're in one of these countries where they wear the full veil, where all you can see is the eyes, what
I've never been in one
distinguishes
of the.
a woman? What does a high status man seek from a woman? How does he identify who the one is? I think it's the nasal bridge, but maybe it's the eye color.
Yeah, I see the argument that you're making, and like I don't disagree. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not. I don't think any of us here are really like white Sharia supporters or anything like that.
I don't know. I'm ready to go full secular Quranism.
Are you
Let me
saying
at it.
are you saying that you voted for Jenny in the debate that we had the other day?
No, I didn't vote for Jenny. Like everybody else, I voted for Claire Carr.
Wait, Claire wasn't even part of the
There's a question
debate.
about of the people on the panel who you would rather have sex with if forced to.
Oh, you voted 4 instead of 1, 2, or 3 is what you're saying?
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the world. I mean, to answer your question, God, what the fuck is your name again? Quantrell. Yeah, the world we live in is totally fucked up, no doubt. I won't disagree with you on that. But I mean, that doesn't mean that we have to be taken advantage of by the world, and be manipulated by the world that we live in either. If that makes sense. Not to sound like a cucky
I get
white
what you're
knight or
saying. I
anything.
think we need to lift the veil. I agree.
I mean, what would the veil actually do? I mean, you just said, like, how do you tell if a woman is is a potential sexual mate if all you can tell is the bridge of her nose?
Well, here's the thing.
That's all you need, Ovi.
First of all, you see the veil a lot more in places like London and Paris than you do in places like Sulaymaniyah or Bishkek, because it's the hardcore people all migrate to Europe. But
well, yeah, and that's exactly the issue. This is why liberalism has failed. Is that liberalism? And I actually talked to Kyle Rowland about this, where I said, like, the most liberal places in Europe are also the most the places that have the most conservative Muslims and things like this, right? So you have this kind of weird paradigm or weird contradiction where the liberal places have the most conservative Muslims. And Kyle did not, as far as I remember, he did not actually necessarily disagree with that issue, but he didn't. I don't remember him actually bringing a forthright argument against it either.
And here's the other thing. In a huge number of these societies, not necessarily because they're Muslim, but generally because they're more traditional, they'll have before Sharia a debt. Marriages are arranged. So you don't need to go find a sexual mate. Your family will find a wife for you.
True, and this is the problem when you have what, like, 1/4 of all teenagers in France are named Muhammad. It's just
Hey,
like,
I had whole classes where every man in the class was named Muhammad.
right, exactly.
I had to like number them: Muhammad Yek, Muhammad Du, Muhammad Say, Muhammad.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the point, right? Is that it doesn't matter if France is supposed to be a liberal country when you have this influx of immigration of all of these conservative elements. changing the demographics or the political voting patterns, shit is going to go wrong one way or the other. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that, but I mean, it seems pretty clear cut and common sense to me. And therefore, Uncle Adolf. It would have been better if Uncle Adolf won the war. Therefore.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I mean, there's some dead
Although
air.
the Germans had a number of explicitly Muslim divisions.
Yeah. Oh,
for
come
them.
on. You can make a stronger argument than that, Otto. Come
I'm
on.
just saying that they were not anti-Islamic.
Well, that's. I mean, they were not anti-Islamic in the general sense, but they were anti-Islamic in the European sense. It's two different things, right? Like it's one thing. It's one thing to be Islamic in the Middle East, but it's
But the
another thing.
Bosnians were not in the Middle East, and neither were the Albanians.
And are you saying that the Nazis supported the Bosnians and the?
Yes, they had SS divisions specifically formed from those nationalities to engage in counterinsurgency against the communists.
Yeah, and were the Bosnians and the Albanians specifically Muslim at the time that they were part of the SS? No? Okay.
Yes, they were. The Bosnian Muslims are classified as Croatians that had been converted by the Ottomans, but were equally Croatians under the NDH and were eligible for service equally with Christian nationalities that were Aryan in the Balkans. So they were above Serbs and equal with Croatians.
Yeah, that's a problem. I would actually I would disagree with Uncle A on that, to be honest. Eke, what are you doing right now? We got some dead air, Eke. Come manage your stream.
So I forgot to eat dinner, so I just had like a little bit of cheese and some olives and some meat, and it was great. And so
sounds pretty Mediterranean.
I'd like to know what Ash thinks of women who drink alcohol. I think it's immodest. It's a turn off for me, but what do you make of that?
You want to go against the wine ants? It's a pillar of modern American culture.
Dude, wine ants are like all that I know. Like that's
society.
That's like a pillar of our society.
The wine ants are the most important part of our society.
Yeah, they're very good for GDP.
Oh, Jesus.
I found alcoholism among the female race to be fairly rampant. I don't know what your experience is, but I genuinely think when I see a woman drinking alcohol, it's kind of disturbing. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it depends. I mean, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, Quantero. I think the wider issue is how much does the woman drink? You know, like I'm not gonna say that my wife can't drink anything ever, but I mean, you know, if you got a fucking slut that's getting shit faced and ending up in the bedroom of whatever Negro, yeah, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah, like I'm okay with a chick having like a glass of wine or something, but like when they get smashed,
how about like a bottle of vodka?
Like in public, like oh my god, it's embarrassing to watch. Like you feel bad for them, and you're like, oh, I can't believe.
No,
I
yeah,
can be
yeah.
around
I
this.
mean, this is kind of the thing is that women are supposed to be the more kind of how do you put it? The fairer sex is the way that it's always put, right?
Yeah.
And so when you see a woman that's acting like a man, you know, in terms of drinking or in terms of you know, oh, she needs to be in the boxing ring with men. It's just like no, sorry, this is not what we want our women to do. Sorry. Oh, by the way, real quick,
Oh, yeah.
can you, dude?
I have to delete
Otto.
the stream, man.
Yeah.
Well, you delete all your streams. I figured it was okay. You delete all your streams.
Yeah, no, it's...
But Otto, can you see? Can you read this?
Well, if you put, I can't. It's not up on the camera. But...
Wait, hold on. It says he grew up so fast, even without Diesel.
Yeah.
Do you like that?
It's not bad.
Dude, I mean, come on. It's a pretty Nazi shirt. You know what I mean?
Well, the tank at the bottom is an Italian tank.
No. The bottom tank is a that's the Panzer. That's a Panzer One. The Panzer Ones only had a machine gun. The top tank is a King Tiger, if I recall correctly. But yeah, from the Panzer One to, and you know, this is actually oh god, I don't even want to get into this shit. Like, we're getting into like Barbarossa and like the technicalities.
I love it.
Did Hitler need to invade Russia?
No, this is what I love. This is what I love. I don't want to get into this shit. Proceeds to get into this shit. Okay. Anyhow. All right, so it's like I actually do have to get up like in a couple of hours. So
You got a plane flight to catch?
yeah, I have to catch a plane.
Bring back a wife?
What's that?
And bring back a wife.
Yeah, well, I mean, this Boer chick is not going to import herself. She's not going to find herself. I'm going to have to go and track her down and everything. I've got little darts for it too. It's going to be
But
great.
don't get killed in Joburg.
What's that?
Don't get killed in Joburg.
No, God, no. It's gonna be.
You know, my boss in Ghana went to a conference in South Africa, and he got carjacked and came very close to being killed. Almost didn't come back to Ghana.
Oh God. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with that. That sounds lame. That's why I don't want to go to freaking.
It would be pretty lame to go to South Africa and be killed. Yes.
Yeah, that'd be like. I don't like that story. It's a bad story. So that's why I just want to import one and call it a day, and that'll be it. Okay. Anyhow, so.
Oh, but before we wrap up, Eke,
Yeah.
can everyone see this this picture on my wall right here? This is
kind of blurry.
This is the Bikini Atoll. This is this is a picture of
before or after it was nuked.
During. This is a picture during.
Yeah, it's the actual mushroom cloud, right? You can just see the mushroom cloud.
So anyone that says that the nukes are fake and gay, yeah, well, I laugh at you. So.
That was Harp. It was Harp that did that.
And everyone can see the. Sorry.
You should get a picture of Novaya Zemlya, where the Soviets tested their nukes.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
an island in the Arctic.
Some good shit.
In
Yeah,
New
dude.
Earth.
All right.
Dude, I mean, that's the thing is that, you know, anything that the Americans did, the Russians did bigger and badder.
Tsar Bomba.
Yeah, the Tsar bomb. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
All right. Well, okay. I'm fantastically exhausted, and I'm gonna try to get to sleep. Per Jonathan Poll's recommendation, I did start listening to the audiobook for the For a shadow over Innsmouth or something.
Yeah, it's a good story.
Yeah, it's actually not bad. Shockingly, I now understand exactly how ungood, like non-excellent, Lovecraft's prose is. It's not excellent, but some of the ideas, like
Very wordy.
yeah, but
Verbose.
I do like some of the concepts. Like it's entertaining. I will absolutely give him that. So
Yeah, he was definitely let's put it this way, politically incorrect.
yeah. Oh yes, I can see why he was so popular amongst screenwriters. So anyhow, okay, I'm gonna get ready to go to flip in bed because I'm knackered. I'm so tired right now, and I gotta wake up early. So I'm gonna go from right to left. So it's gonna go. I'd like to hear thoughts from everybody present. So I want to go from Quantrell to Ove to Jonathan Pohl to Ash. So Quantrell, do you have any any final thoughts? Anything you wanted to plug, or any ideas that you want to impart on anyone?
Yeah. Not really.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Quantrell did not score the white pussy tonight, so
Well-
he's out of words.
As far as you know, motherfucker.
If okay. All right. All right. So, Ove, do you have anything you wanted to leave us
Well,
with?
yeah. Final words is I think we finally found Kyle. He's about this tall, and for anyone that did not see, I BTFO'd Jenny in a stream. I BTFO'd. Dude, I BTFO everyone in debates.
Now, this is how I know that you're not a Fed, because you're flexing over some random streamer. I BTFO you. All right,
Oh,
anyway.
dude, this is too much fun. Like if I was Feds don't have this much fun, to be honest.
Okay.
Like Feds are fucking faggots,
All right.
So.
Okay, well, we'll glow harder later. Okay. Jonathan Pohl, is there anything you wanted to?
Yes, October 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the public space. I will be interviewed by Jean-Francois Garipier.
Heck yes, it's outstanding. We're gonna have representation on JF stream. That's great. That's great.
Oh, great! Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, everyone needs to be there for that. So let's
Dude, Otto,
mark
you're gonna shield my stream, right? When you go on JF's channel.
Which one? You're like on stream number 86.
Fair point.
All right, so this Friday, Jonathan Pohl. Everybody, mark it on your freaking calendar.
Fucking A, I'm marking it. Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, and Ash, is there anything that you wanted to talk about? Any parting thoughts?
Let's see. Wait, am I on mute? I'm not muted. Okay, perfect. Quantrell, don't be so black pilling. You're gonna be all right, man. You're gonna be all right. I promise you. You'll
Don't
find.
be such a Negro, Control.
Oh,
Yeah.
come now. Oh, let's play nice. Come on.
Just say it, Ash. Just say the word.
Not on that gay stream. I'll do that on my own. With a hard R, Quantrell.
Oh my God.
No, don't give up, man. Don't give up. We're not all bad. Just stay away from the liberal shit cesspool that colleges are. You'll be all right. We'll have another conversation later. But Eke, thanks for having me on, man. And
yeah,
everybody
for
else,
sure.
Jonathan, Obi, Quantrell, good night.
Yeah, I'm actually really glad that everybody popped by. Like, this is it's been a great it's been a great time. So, just thank you in general. And while I am, and I don't want to foment too much in the way of Discord, because I don't like infighting at all. But Poseidon Live says something that I don't entirely disagree with, so I will just let that be its own thing. But anyhow, yeah, there was a thing that I wanted to make mention of, coming back to something with regards to Mark. Yeah, I like the idea. Olaf has been talking about this for months now, and the concept is just get out there and start, just get out there, talk to women, talk to chicks, just announce that you want to get married. Maybe not announce in the formal sense of I want to get married, blah blah, but the point is, if you set yourself up so that you are marriageable material, I think you'll get bites. I think that you'll get attention. So I'm with Olaf on that one. Mark said that he was going to ask out a girl, and I'm going to do the same. So I'm going to count it as something not dissimilar to Fight Club, which is the Gen X version of the Joker movie. So this is our thing. This is what we do. So yeah, we're gonna get out there. We're gonna put ourselves out there, and we're gonna get married. That's the plan. So there you go. It starts with just getting out there.
Hey, good luck, you guys. I'm seriously grinning ear to ear right now, knowing that you guys are gonna ask some girls out. Good for you guys. Go for it, man.
I love it.
I'll say a prayer for you.
I love it. All right.
Gonna take her to Ruby's.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Ruby's. We're gonna get a nice burger and fries and a chocolate shake with 2 straws. It's gonna be fantastic. It's gonna be amazing. So that's the plan. Yeah.
That was a good one. That was a good one, Otto.
Yeah, and
I mean, seriously and non-seriously at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, and coming back to Poseidon one more time. The concept is that the future belongs to those who show up. If we are not having families, there will not be a future. So that's the concept. Anyway, all right, with all of that, I am going to move over to the outro music. I'm not going to play an album tonight because my channel got my stream got interrupted 3 times playing albums that were not, they're just regular vaporwave albums. It's very upsetting. So there's going to be just the regular outro, but no albums. Sadly, that's just the way that it is for now.
Eke is pretty famous nowadays, you guys.
Yeah, well, amongst 5.5 people, yeah, that's true. I'll take it though.
38 people watching.
Yeah, 38. Sorry, Eke, you're a celeb now.
Okay,
sorry.
all right. So
So
5.5
among certain elements of law enforcement.
Exactly. So 5.5 people actually care, and then the other 12 are bots that are actually fed bots. So yeah. But thank you anyway, everyone, for popping by.
All right.
So there you go. All right, guys. Cheers. Oh, right. What am I thinking? All right. I can't help it. I have to ask. Okay. Does anyone on panel remember the 4 rules of firearms safety? Anyone?
Don't pull the trigger unless it's a Jew.
Oh god, no, disavow. Fucking disavow. Stop it right now. Stop that immediately. I'm not even joking. I don't want my channel taken down, please.
This stream is getting deleted. Come on.
I know, but don't. Okay, well, since we're gonna get non-serious answers.
The next stream is gonna be like Nowicki. He's gonna be talking about the nice guys in Fed suits that visited
Is this
him.
guy really allowed to buy a firearm?
What's
to
that?
Own a firearm?
Who? What?
Nazi flag man.
Yeah,
What?
he's a U.S. citizen, so yeah.
Well, not every U.S. citizen is allowed to own a firearm.
That's true. That's true.
He's never been convicted of a felony.
Actually, if I recall correctly,
Only circumstance.
residents of the United States, so a Canadian or like a Jamaican or whatever can also purchase a firearm. Anyhow, okay, so.
Right, but people who are convicted of felonies may not generally own
Oh,
firearms.
God damn it. Okay, I'm going to shut down stream. I'm just going to
And
do
other and other circumstances.
Fucking
Radio 5150. Check it out.
I can't. It's upsetting. Okay, so I didn't do any case streaming, but we'll pretend that I did for just a minute. I don't endorse anything. I disavow everything that happened on this stream. All of it, firstly. Secondly.
As do I.
Secondly, outside of disavowing absolutely everyone on panel and everyone in chat, and everyone that I met today, by the way, I do actually advocate that people exercise their God-given right to keep and bear arms. Plinking is a hell of a lot of fun, and if you are going to plink, I think it's critical, actually, that you have in mind the 4 rules of firearm safety as outlined by Jeff Cooper. Rule number 1, always treat every firearm like it is loaded. Rule number 2, never cover or sweep anything that you are not willing to destroy. Rule number 3, your finger stays off of the trigger until your sights are on target. And the 4th and final rule is be aware of your target and what's beyond it. Safety first. With that,
And safety first means shooting the Jew before he
oh my God,
shoots
no, that's a big no. That's a big no. Okay, guys, remember to floss, and I'll see.
Whenever you kill a Jew, it's in self-defense.
Oh my God, no! Don't do that, please. God damn it. Okay, this is over. No, that's it. I cut all the audio, so no one even hears you anymore. Okay, that's it. All right, guys. I'll see everyone later. Cheers.